Chapter 444. When Wei Debao heard Zhang Wenba scolding him, his face faintly revealed an excited expression. But then, Wei Debao found that Shan Liang had already left. Wei Debao ignored Zhang Wenba, whose expression had already cracked. He trotted forward, coquettishly stroked his pearl-like purple hair, and chased after Shan Liang. At that moment, the mother of Bloodbath's strange and pleasant voice sounded in Lin Yuan's mind. Lin Yuan, the old man behind that youth, has contracted a myth-breed fey, and there is more than one. Lin Yuan turned his gaze to the old man standing behind the sinister youth. The old man's back was straight, and his body had a chilly aura. Lin Yuan's eyes narrowed slightly. It seemed that this old man should be the emperor-class expert of the Zheng family's third lineage. From this old man's standing position, his identity could be seen. He was obviously not from the Zheng family's main family. If this old man was from the Zheng family's main family, he would not be standing behind the Zheng family's third lineage's young master. Since the Zheng family's third lineage had found him, perhaps someone had also found Lu Jie or Listen. However, Lin Yuan was not worried about Listen's and Lu Jie's safety. With Endless Summer secretly watching over them, there should be no one in this indigo azure sea market that could make Listen and Lu Jie suffer. However, this old man's appearance was equivalent to saying that the Zheng family's third lineage was willing to send an emperor-class expert for the shallow nearshore sea controlled by the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. This imperceptibly showed the Zheng family's third lineage's attitude. Lin Yuan could not help but be more curious about why the Zheng family's third lineage was so keen on the shallow nearshore sea. Lin Yuan quietly looked at the Zheng family's third lineage's young master Zhang with some playfulness in his eyes. From the purple-haired youth's words, this sinister youth in front of him should be the person supporting the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce in the royal capital. The pinnacle king-class expert that Endless Summer had killed must have been sent by this sinister youth in front of him. Under Lin Yuan's gaze, Zhang Wenba's expression became more and more unsightly. This is simply too fucking shameful. He had originally wanted to use this method to test the background of this masked young man by finding fault with him. However, of all the methods he could have used, he had to mention this mask. Wei Debao also found out about this matter. If Wei Debao were to find out, he was afraid that no one in his circle would not know about it. This was tantamount to his own social death. Just as Zhang Wenba was about to speak, he heard the youth wearing the expensive mask speak. "Since you're shy, I won't force you. If you want to buy anything in the Indigo Azure Sea Market, it's best to measure your own abilities to avoid embarrassment. Of course, it's the same for other things outside the Indigo Azure Sea Market." After speaking, Lin Yuan stored the Blood Brew grapevine into the diamond amber button-shaped face storage box and turned to leave. After hearing Lin Yuan's words, Zhang Wenba's eyes, which were getting increasingly gloomy, suddenly focused. Zhang Wenba sensed an attitude from this sentence. His attitude made it seem as if he didn't put him in his eyes at all. At the same time, there was a hint of warning in it. Zhang Wenba might be from the Zheng family's third lineage, but he was still the Zheng family's young master. He would be addressed respectfully as young Master Zhang wherever he went. After being agitated by Lin Yuan's attitude, Zhang Wenba's anger surged. At that moment, an elder with a straight back and a cedar aura looked in the direction that Lin Yuan had left. Then he put his hand on Zhang Wenba's shoulder and said, "What else is there to be unhappy about?" Zhang Wenba took a deep breath. Although his anger was no longer shown on his face, his eyes were like a vulture staring at rotten meat. Zhang Wenba took a deep breath. Although his anger no longer showed on his face, his eyes were like a vulture staring at rotten meat. The elder patted Zhang Wenba's shoulder and said, "Grandpa Zhao, did you sense an expert's aura around him?" The elder used his hand to pat Zhang Wenba's shoulder and said, "I didn't sense any powerful aura. Unless the other party's strength is much higher than mine and he intentionally concealed his aura. Let's go, Wenba. Report back to Master and see what he has to do next." Zhang Wenba grinned sinisterly. "Without the protection of an expert, you still dare to speak so arrogantly? Based on my understanding of father, I might have to trouble Grandpa Zhao to make a trip tonight." The elder with a straight back and a cedar aura smiled and said, "It's no trouble at all. It's no trouble at all. The cold snow pine should be breaking through tonight." After Zhang Wenba and the old man, who had a straight back and had a cedar-like temperament, walked away. Not far away, a young man sitting in a wheelchair next to a stall had a devilish smile on his face that seemed to widen. Behind the crippled youth, a man with 3 scars on his face said softly. "Third young master, we've been out long enough. Let's go back." The skinny crippled youth didn't respond to the man with 3 scars on his face. The skinny crippled youth didn't respond to the man with 3 scars on his face. He seemed to be very interested as he spoke. "I heard that second brother is standing on the third lineage's side. Second brother is really good at making trouble. Huh? Unlike me, I can't even walk when I want to." Hearing the third young master's question, the man with 3 scars on his face immediately broke out in a cold sweat. He quickly lowered his head and didn't dare to reply. He even tried to slow down his breathing. The skinny youth in the wheelchair continued to speak. "I can't even walk, but second brother is so good at making trouble. Haha, what a good second brother." The man with 3 scars on his face didn't know why, but when he heard the third young master say, "good second brother," he felt a bone-chilling chill rise from the bottom of his heart. At this moment, the smile on the skinny youth's face suddenly disappeared. "I have to ask second brother to help me get my share out as well." As he spoke, a trace of viciousness and cruelty flashed in the skinny youth's eyes. He then extended his 6-fingered palm and looked at it gently. "You said that when you released your aura against that person, your blood flowed in reverse and your mind was in chaos. I don't know if such an iron plate is enough. Will it be enough for second brother to break his legs when he's tormenting him?" Suddenly, a sea breeze blew into the indigo azure sea market. As the sea breeze blew, the skinny youth in the wheelchair suddenly started coughing. While coughing, the viciousness in his eyes became as gentle as jade. "The wind is blowing. Push me to Grandpa's place. I haven't played chess with Grandpa for a long time." The man with 3 scars on his face lowered his head, and the fine sweat on his nose gathered into water droplets that dripped onto the ground, creating a small splash. Upon hearing the third young master's instructions, he hurriedly responded. "Yes, third young master." Just as Lin Yuan was about to stroll around the indigo azure sea market, he suddenly saw Lu Jie and Listen running toward him. Their faces also had a hurried expression. Second night. Everyone liked nurturing, but there was still a big conflict. Sob sob sob. End of this chapter. Chapter 445. When Lin Yuan saw Lu Jie and Listen running toward him, he hurriedly greeted them. Could it be that the Zhang family's third lineage really went to find trouble with Lu Jie and Listen? Just as Lin Yuan was about to ask, he heard Lu Jie say hurriedly, "That's right. Lin Yuan, quickly follow us. There is a mountain-containing embryo over there that your Fae needs." When Lin Yuan heard the words mountain-containing embryo, his pupils suddenly constricted. Then his eyes were filled with joy. He now had a total of 3 fantasy breed Faes, the Soar Sand, the Jasmine Lily, Red Thorn, and Chimey. He no longer needed to worry about Chimey's quality improvement after metamorphosing into a fantasy breed Fae. With the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree, as long as he could take out enough strange flames, he would be able to use it. In that case, it was not impossible to raise Chimey's quality to fantasy V. Lin Yuan didn't need to worry about Red Thorn. As long as Red Thorn continued to eat like this, it would sooner or later rise from fantasy I. However, after the Jasmine Lily and Soar Sand became fantasy breeds, Lin Yuan did nothing to improve their quality. Lin Yuan had been stuck at C rank as a Spirit Chi professional. It would be utterly inadequate to rely on a C rank Spirit Chi professional's spiritual power to enhance a fantasy breed phase quality. It was not that he had not thought of a way, but these treasures that could enhance a fantasy breed phase quality were simply too rare. Even if Lin Yuan searched for it, he could not find it. The mountain-containing embryo that Lu Jie mentioned was a treasure that could strengthen Earth-type fantasy breed phase and Source-type lifeforms. It was considered a precious strategic class resource. Although the Source Sand was a sand element, the sand element was also a variant of the Earth element. In essence, it was a homologous element. Of course, strategic class resources like the mountain-containing embryo were not as simple as improving the quality of Earth-type fantasy breed phase and Source-type items. However, in his heart, this mountain-containing embryo's greatest use was to raise the Soar Sand's quality from fantasy I. Lin Yuan followed Lu Jie and Listen and quickly walked toward the stall where the mountain-containing embryo had appeared. Before he arrived in front of the stall, Lin Yuan noticed that many people were surrounding it. They surrounded the stall so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. Upon seeing this situation, Lin Yuan was a little anxious. Lin Yuan saw that most of the people on the periphery were watching the show, so he pushed through the crowd and squeezed in with Lu Jie and listened. Once inside, Lin Yuan got out of the crowd of onlookers and went to the trading spot next to the stall. At that moment, Lin Yuan realized that there was already an old man holding a telescopic lens under his eyelids, carefully looking at an earth-yellow spherical object that was half the size of a fist. This earthen yellow ball looked very unremarkable. It looked like a potato, and it was slowly bouncing in the old man's hand. It was like a living embryo. The stall owner was a round fatty. When he saw Lin Yuan, Lu Jie, and Listen emerge from the crowd and come to the trading area in front of the stall, he reminded them, "If you plan to trade, you can check the 3 items on my stall. I only trade strategic class treasures here. Phase, spiritual ingredients, and source-type items are all fine. But listen up, I only want strategic-level weapons." When Lin Yuan heard the boss's reminder, he immediately replied, "Yes. I heard that boss has a mountain-containing embryo here. It's something I urgently need, so I came over to take a look." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the fat stall owner made an inviting gesture and said with a smile, "I heard that you have a mountain-containing embryo here. Then you can wait for Master Jing Lu to finish checking this mountain-containing embryo before you check it. Although the other 2 items on the stall are not as precious as the mountain-containing embryo, they're also not bad. You can check them yourself." While speaking, the fat stall owner's eyes sized up Lin Yuan's body. His eyes deliberately stayed on the mask on Lin Yuan's face for a few seconds before shifting his gaze away. Lin Yuan lowered his head and glanced at the other 2 items on the stall, not paying much attention to them. However, Lin Yuan saw that the old man, whom the stall owner called Master Jing Lu, had not finished checking the mountain-containing embryo for a long time. Lin Yuan simply used Morbius True data to scan the 3 items on the stall. With this glance, Lin Yuan's gaze was attracted by the items on the stall. However, what attracted Lin Yuan's gaze was not the mountain-containing embryo that could transform the source sand into a fantasy breed and improve its quality again. It was the source-type item in the middle that looked like a small cactus. The cactus-like source-type item was only the size of a thumb and did not look conspicuous at all. However, Lin Yuan did not expect that this inconspicuous cactus-shaped source-type item was actually a fairy source-type lifeform that was as rare as elemental source-type lifeforms. Lin Yuan was also someone who had seen the world. If it was an ordinary fairy source-type lifeform, he would not be attracted to it. Lu Jie's contracted insect queen was a fairy source-type lifeform. Although Lin Yuan had only seen the insect queen's true body once when it had entered combat mode, he had never seen it before. However, Lin Yuan already had a sufficient understanding of fairy source-type lifeforms in theory. The reason why this fairy source-type lifeform attracted Lin Yuan's gaze was that it was too suitable for Xueqi. It was simply a source-type lifeform tailor-made for Lin Yuan's Iron Bucket Sister Nurturing Plan 3.0. With this fairy source-type lifeform, Iron Bucket Sister Nurturing Plan 3.0 could also officially start. As for the contract conditions, this fairy source-type lifeform might have harsh conditions for others, but it was a piece of cake for Lin Yuan. When the boss saw that Lin Yuan had been staring at the cactus-shaped source-type lifeform in his stall, he ignored Lin Yuan and went to introduce it. He just sat there, unperturbed. It was as if he had good stuff and was not worried about not selling it. Since Lin Yuan had found such a suitable source-type lifeform for the first time, he naturally would not let it go. He said to the satisfied fat boss, "Boss, quote a price for this thing in the middle." Upon hearing that, the fat boss patted his big belly and said, "I refuse to bargain. Since you want to trade, you should be able to see what this thing in the middle is, so you should also know the approximate price." After saying that, the fat boss chuckled and smiled unusually amiably. However, the words that came out of his mouth made Lin Yuan choke. "You can only quote a price once. If you're satisfied, I'll trade. If you're not satisfied, then you're not fated with this thing." Previously, in his purchase with no loss store, Lin Yuan had been acting like a big boss, be it during ordinary transactions or when he posted information about trades. Now, Lin Yuan did not expect to be treated like a big boss by someone else. First chapter. I'm going to write a big event soon. Perhaps it was because I was tired from typing for almost half a day in the hospital these 2 days, and my brain was a little muddy. Today, I used my cell phone to revise this chapter for the whole night and rewrote it twice. Sob, sob, sob. End of this chapter. Chapter 446. Lin Yuan finally understood why most of the people in front of this fat boss's stall were just watching the show and not going forward to trade. He wanted to make a deal with this fat boss, but his first offer wasn't enough. He didn't even have the chance to continue talking. Boss, your fairy source-type lifeform's contract conditions are a little too difficult. If you can't get a Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Master to help, even if this source-type lifeform can be contracted, it will just be a defective product. When the fat boss heard Lin Yuan's words, he rolled his eyes. If it weren't for the contract conditions, I wouldn't have taken out this fairy source-type lifeform to trade. But even if you can't find a Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Master, find a Class 4 Creation Master and spend some effort to successfully form a contract with this fairy source-type lifeform. Lu Jie and Listen, who were standing beside Lin Yuan, were confused. He did not understand what kind of riddle Lin Yuan was playing with this stall owner. When Lin Yuan heard the fat boss's words, he shook his head, not agreeing with the fat boss's statement. Under true data, the Burning Sunflower's contract conditions were very special. The fairy source-type lifeform, the Burning Sunflower, couldn't be directly contracted by Spirit Chi professionals. The Spirit Chi professionals had to slowly raise the Burning Sunflower like a normal fae. The Burning Sunflower would only reach its complete state when it reached Bronze/Legend quality. However, when the Burning Sunflower was nurtured to Bronze/Epic, Spirit Chi professionals would be able to contract it. However, choosing to contract the Burning Sunflower at Bronze/Epic quality was an extremely wasteful way to waste the Burning Sunflower's potential. At Bronze/Epic quality, if the contractor chose to contract the Burning Sunflower, then after the contract, the Burning Sunflower, which was originally in the shape of a dark green cactus, would bloom into a flame-like flower. Then, a Burning Sunflower flower spirit was born from the flower. The Burning Sunflower that gave birth to the Burning Sunflower spirit would crystallize and become a place for the Burning Sunflower spirit to reside in. At the same time, the Burning Sunflower flower spirit that was born was normal level 1. Normal quality. However, if it was at Bronze/Legend, the Burning Sunflower would grow to its complete state, and the Spirit Chi professional would form a contract with it. Then the Burning Sunflower would grow 2 flame-like flowers, and the 2 flame-like flowers would give birth to 2 identical Burning Sunflower flower spirits, just like twins. These 2 identical Burning Sunflower flower spirits were also normal level 1. Normal quality. It was just that these 2 identical Burning Sunflower flower spirits would share levels and willpower runes, and could cast skills together. It could be said that when a contestant chose to contract a Burning Sunflower at Bronze/Legend quality, there was a world of difference between the Burning Sunflower and Bronze/Epic quality. In his opinion, no matter how suitable this fairy source-type lifeform, the Burning Sunflower, was for Xueqi, if he could not let it reach its complete state before letting Xueqi contract it, then he would also give up decisively. Rather than compromise like this, it was better to choose a replacement who could fully display his strength. After Lin Yuan weighed the Burning Sunflower's value in his heart, he prepared to make a bid. The old man who had been squatting to check the mountain-containing embryo stood up and praised. This mountain-containing embryo is indeed something that can only be produced in Class 4 underground dimensional rifts. I will offer 2 young elemental shellfish for this mountain-containing embryo. The price of 2 young elemental shellfish is slightly higher than your mountain-containing embryo. Hearing that, the fat boss's face lit up. At the same time, Lin Yuan secretly cursed in his heart. He did not expect that the old man, who had been squatting on the ground to check the mountain-containing embryo, would actually make a bid after standing up and decide to exchange for it. Furthermore, the price he offered was clearly slightly higher than the price of the mountain-containing embryo itself. Under such circumstances, if Lin Yuan did not quickly speak up, this mountain-containing embryo would probably not be fated with him. Boss, do you accept elemental pearls here? Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the fat boss immediately turned to look at Lin Yuan and asked in surprise. You want to use elemental pearls to exchange for this fairy source-type lifeform? The value of a single elemental pearl was far less than a fairy source-type lifeform. Compared to source-type lifeforms, the status of elemental pearls was obviously higher among foundational resources. After all, a single source-type lifeform had a lot of limitations and was only valuable to a small number of people. However, most fays in the world had nature attributes. Apart from a few spiritual type, blood type, and poison type fays, most fays that used elemental pearls at the point of evolution were very likely to enhance their nature attributes and even help them evolve. It could be said that the elemental pearl's versatility and functionality were not comparable to a single source-type life form with a lot of limitations. The old man, whom the fat boss addressed as Master Jing Lu, frowned slightly due to being interrupted, but he did not say anything. However, Lin Yuan's words made Master Jing Lu's brows furrow into a deep frown. I'm not using elemental pearls to exchange for this fairy source-type life form. When Lin Yuan spoke, he paused for a moment, and during this pause, the fat boss did not react. If you don't want to use elemental pearls to exchange for this fairy source-type life form, why are you asking me if I accept elemental pearls? However, when the fat boss heard Lin Yuan's words, he was in a bit of a dilemma. I want to use heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls to exchange for your mountain-containing embryo. Lin Yuan's words made the surrounding onlookers exclaim out loud. The elemental pearls produced by the elemental shellfish required rich, high-purity spirit qi. Class 3 creation masters and above could help the elemental shellfish produce elemental pearls by concocting spirit fluids to stimulate spirit qi. However, the speed at which Class 3 creation masters made the elemental shellfish produce elemental pearls was simply too slow. Only Class 3 creation masters and above could normally stimulate elemental pearls. Taking out elemental pearls was not considered a great ability, but it was different to take out heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. This was the privilege of Class 4 creation masters and above. Moreover, a mountain-containing embryo would definitely require a lot of heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls to exchange for it. This could indirectly show that this masked youth must have powerful creation master resources behind him. The fat boss took a look at Master Jing Lu and noticed that his brows were furrowed into a deep frown. He silently cussed in his heart. This Master Jing Lu was an advanced Class 4 creation master. If he let Master Jing Lu have a bad impression of him, it would not be worth it. However, compared to the elemental shellfish, the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls were more attractive to the fat boss. Even if the fat boss held the elemental shellfish in his hands, it could only stimulate the production of elemental pearls at most. The prerequisite of stimulating the production of elemental pearls was the investment of creation master resources. Second chapter. End of this chapter. Chapter 447. Even if these creation master resources were not used to nurture the elemental pearls and enhance the phase quality, the returns would not be inferior to the value of using the elemental shellfish to nurture the elemental pearls. Therefore, the fat boss was still more inclined to exchange for the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls with Lin Yuan. However, this would inevitably offend Master Jing Lu. Master Jing Lu's temper was not good, and he was famous for distinguishing between love and hate. Those who were recognized by Grandmaster Jing Lu would treat them like family. However, those who were hated by Master Jing Lu would never be soft-hearted when taking revenge. The fat boss's eyes turned, and he had a plan. If he traded this mountain-containing embryo to this masked youth in exchange for the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls, it might cause Master Jing Lu to have a bad opinion of him. However, if he could let Master Jing Lu have the least opinion of him and transfer his hatred to this masked youth, it would be worth it to exchange for the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. This masked youth was willing to exchange the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls for the mountain-containing embryo. It meant that the mountain-containing embryo was very important to this masked youth. The fat boss didn't answer Lin Yuan's question directly. Instead, he looked at Lin Yuan and blinked twice at him. When Lin Yuan saw the fat boss blink at him, he understood what he meant. When Master Jing Lu stood up, Lin Yuan saw the Class 4 Creation Master crest hanging on his chest. Among the 4 stars, the second star had risen high, which meant that Master Jing Lu was an advanced Class 4 Creation Master. However, even if Master Jing Lu was an advanced Class 4 Creation Master, Lin Yuan would not shrink back from this mountain-containing embryo that he had found with great difficulty. Instead, he made up his mind to exchange for the mountain-containing embryo. At the same time, Lin Yuan could not help but put his thoughts on the 2 infant elemental shellfish in Master Jing Lu's hands. Lin Yuan thought to himself, if I can get these 2 infant elemental shellfish in Master Jing Lu's hands, that would be after I induce these 2 infant elemental shellfish to mutate in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. These 2 mutated elemental shellfish could produce a large number of heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. By then, the resources that I could use would increase exponentially. Lin Yuan pondered for a moment and said to the fat boss, "Yes, sir. I'm willing to exchange 200 Heavenly Maiden-level elemental pearls produced by the scorching elemental shellfish for this mountain-containing embryo. The fat boss's face was immediately filled with surprise when he heard this. But then the fat boss quickly hid the joyful expression on his face and secretly looked at Master Jing Lu. Noticing that Master Jing Lu wasn't looking at him, Zhang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Master Jing Lu looked at Lin Yuan for a long time and sighed. Little friend, give me this mountain-containing embryo, and I will help you raise that source-type life form, the burning sunflower, to bronze/epic after the transaction. How about it? Master Jing Lu's words caused a commotion among the onlookers. Fuck! What was going on? Was this a deal between the big shots? Just bidding for a chance to raise a source-type lifeform's quality to bronze/epic. What kind of godly operation is this? As expected of an advanced Class 4 creation master, his first move is already a chance to upgrade the source-type lifeform to bronze/epic. He didn't even take out the Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearl. What if there isn't one? As soon as the woman's voice rang out, everyone looked at her as if they were looking at an idiot. Would anyone in the world dare to lie and swindle a Class 4 creation master in front of a Class 4 creation master? Upon hearing Master Jing Lu's words, Lin Yuan shook his head. Master Jing Lu, the Mount Rongshan embryo is related to the improvement of my strength. With Grandmaster status, you naturally know how rare the mountain-containing embryo is. Just like Grandmaster, since I have encountered it, I will naturally do my best to take it and not let it go. After saying that, Lin Yuan cupped his fists and bowed to Master Jing Lu to express his apology. Master Jing Lu sighed again when he heard that. He looked at Lin Yuan with a somewhat complicated gaze. Originally, Master Jing Lu was quite disgusted with this young man, who suddenly interrupted the situation and snatched the mountain-containing embryo that he was about to obtain. But in this kind of bidding, it was just a competition of who could bring out better items. In Master Jing Lu's opinion, if it were up to him, even if the value of 2 infant elemental shellfish and 200 Heavenly Maiden-level elemental pearls were equivalent, he would still be able to make a profit. He would also not hesitate to choose 200 Heavenly Maiden-level elemental pearls instead of 2 infant elemental shellfish. Therefore, Master Jing Lu had offered to raise the source-type life form, the burning sunflower, to bronze/epic to fight for it. After hearing that he was directly rejected, a surge of anger surged in Master Jing Lu's heart. However, this masked youth's attitude towards him was very polite and respectful. This made it hard for Master Jing Lu to vent the anger in his heart. It had to be said that Lin Yuan's neither servile nor overbearing attitude and polite attitude had indeed given Master Jing Lu a little favorable impression. However, this favorable impression and disgust counterbalanced each other, and there was more disgust instead. Therefore, Master Jing Lu still felt a little displeased when he looked at Lin Yuan. Forget it. I only want this mountain-containing embryo for the pure and massive earth element energy in it and the aura of the earth vein origin. Since I'm not fated with this mountain-containing embryo, I'll go back and induce the 2 infant elemental shellfish to mutate into thick earth elemental shellfish and cultivate the Heavenly Maiden-level elemental pearls myself. As for the aura of the earth vein's origin, this old man will think of a way. It's not that I have to accept the earth embryo. When Lin Yuan heard Master Jing Lu's words, he suddenly felt that Master Jing Lu was rather cute. At the same time, Lin Yuan found that Master Jing Lu seemed to be a hidden chatterbox, as he spoke a lot. The last part of his sentence sounded like he was borrowing a manga book from a classmate at school, but the classmate wouldn't lend it to him. He clearly wanted to read manga, but he said that he had something to read and that he didn't care about reading manga. What an aged tsundere. Lin Yuan was still thinking about the 2 infant elemental shellfish in Master Jing Lu's hands. Upon hearing Master Jing Lu say that he wanted to nurture earth-type elemental pearls, Lin Yuan hurriedly replied, Master Jing Lu, I still have some Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearls. I will also take out 200 of them. How about exchanging for the 2 infant elemental shellfish in Grandmaster's hands? Take it as a token of my apology. Master Jing Lu, who was still a little unhappy with Lin Yuan, was stunned. What was the meaning of this masked kid? He actually wants to trade with me? Tips and updates for Magic Jellyfish. Seeking recommendation votes and monthly votes. End of chapter. Chapter 448. He had just snatched the mountain-containing embryo from his hands, and now he was eyeing the 2 infant elemental shellfish in his hands. He was simply too savage. However, although Master Jing Lu was somewhat resistant in his heart, his body was 100% willing. Even if he was an advanced Class 4 creation master and wanted to hasten the thick earth elemental shellfish to produce 200 heavenly maiden grade elemental pearls, he wouldn't be able to do so. However, it would take a lot of effort and a lot of time. Furthermore, the young man had said that he wanted to apologize to him. He would use 200 heavenly maiden level pearls to exchange for his 2 infant elemental shellfish. It was simply too sincere. Master Jing Lu said directly. This old man sees that you're not bad. Since that's the case, this old man agrees to the exchange and will still help you raise the source-type life form, Burning Sunflower, to Bronze/Epic. Lin Yuan hurriedly cupped his hands and bowed. Thank you for your kindness, Master. However, I won't trouble you with such a small matter. If Master needs more heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in the future, you can look for me directly. After saying that, he flipped his hand. He took out a large brocade box from the amber button-shaped diamond face storage box and handed it to Master Jing Lu. Master Jing Lu took it and opened it. He didn't even count it before closing the brocade box. The pearlescent light is restrained internally, and the light is restrained externally. The color pores are warm and translucent, and the earth element fills the color pores. The heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls you took out can be considered top tier. After saying that, Master Jing Lu took out his cell phone and took the initiative to ask Lin Yuan for his cell phone number. He then placed the 2 young elemental shellfish into a platinum phase storage box and handed it to Lin Yuan. He did not check the 2 young elemental shellfish in the platinum phase storage box. He placed the 2 platinum phase storage boxes that contained the young elemental shellfish into the amber button-shaped diamond phase storage box. Seeing this, Master Jing Lu laughed and said, "You're not bad. I like you." With that, he turned around and left the stall. At that moment, Lin Yuan realized that the onlookers, the fat stall owner, Listen, and Lu Jie were looking at him as if they were looking at a god. Lin Yuan was rather helpless and simply took out another brocade box. This brocade box was also filled with 200 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. Lin Yuan handed the brocade box to the fat boss. Then, Lin Yuan looked at the fairy source-type life form, the Burning Sunflower, and asked the fat boss. "Boss, I don't know what resources I can offer to exchange for this source-type life form." As Lin Yuan spoke, he stretched out his hand and touched the back of his head. After exchanging for 2 young elemental shellfish and the mountain-containing embryo, Lin Yuan realized that he had become a pauper. The heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls that he had collected in the Spirit Lock spatial zone were not absorbed by the twin red pagoda. Apart from giving Lu Jie and Listen 30 each, after spending another 400, he did not have any left. He had used these 400 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls to exchange for plenty of strategic class resources. However, even if he starved to death, he would never sell these strategic resources again. Lin Yuan realized that the more resources he controlled, the more severe his hoarding habits became. Now that the good stuff was in his hands, he wouldn't feel the pinch no matter how he or his companions used it. However, if he were to trade it, he felt that it was no different from cutting off his own flesh. The fat boss no longer had the same indifferent expression as before. He hurriedly took the brocade box that Lin Yuan handed over and carefully opened the lid. Then, he counted the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in the brocade box one by one. After counting and confirming that there were no mistakes, the fat boss rubbed his fingertips as though he was still reminiscing the feeling of touching the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. The fat boss had a bright smile on his face, but the idea he had just made up in his mind made his flesh ache. "Little brother, I'll give you this fairy source-type life form. I wonder if I can also exchange contact information with you? If I have good stuff in the future, I also want to exchange some heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls from you." Lin Yuan did not expect to encounter such a good thing. When did my cell phone number become so valuable? My contact information can actually be exchanged for a fairy source-type elemental life form. Lin Yuan now had 2 young elemental shellfish and could completely induce mutations in these 2 young elemental shellfish. He would let these 2 mutated elemental shellfish produce heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Then, he would use the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls as his own strategic resource reserve. In other people's eyes, Lin Yuan didn't make a profit and instead suffered a small loss. However, Lin Yuan felt that after nurturing these two young elemental shellfish and placing them in his spirit-lock spatial zone for a few days, they would grow rapidly. That way, he would be able to earn back all the money he had spent. Lin Yuan planned to nurture the two young elemental shellfish into thick earth shellfish and store a portion of the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. A portion of it was used to feed the source sand. In fact, if Lin Yuan wanted to improve the fantasy breed source sand's quality, he did not have to use the mountain embryo mountain. There were many precious spiritual ingredients that could allow the source sand to evolve from fantasy I to fantasy breed. However, the mountain-containing embryo was a strategic class treasure that had been formed after a Class 4 underground dimensional rift had devoured a mountain range. After countless years of underground evolution, it had become a strategic class treasure. The mountain-containing embryo contained the ability to transform mountains. This kind of evolving ability was compatible with the two willpower runes that the source sand had fused with. The source sand could slowly comprehend and absorb it. Lin Yuan wanted to use the mountain-containing embryo to improve the source sand's quality from fantasy I to enhance the source sand's ability to transform. Although it would require a lot of resources, Lin Yuan felt that it was worth it to increase the source sand's strength. However, he felt that it was worth it to increase his phase strength. The Fat Boss's heartache from giving away a source-type life form had already disappeared. In the Fat Boss's opinion, this masked youth had taken out 400 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in front of his stall. In the Fat Boss's opinion, this masked youth had taken out 400 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in front of his stall. There was a saying that went, when a bowl of water is full, the part that spills out is called the foundation. The 400 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls that this masked youth had casually taken out were actually the foundation. The 400 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls that this masked youth had casually taken out were obviously the resources that could be used at will. It was obvious that this masked youth's background was the overflowing resources that could be used at will. It was a great benefit to have a relationship with such a person. Even if he could not obtain any substantial help, just having a stable channel to exchange for heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls was already a huge profit. First more, end of this chapter. Chapter 449. After the transaction was completed, Lin Yuan was in a good mood. He could finally start enhancing the source sand's quality. At the same time, Lin Yuan sensed Red Thorn, which was feasting on the Gold Water World dimensional lifeform's flesh in the leaf-shaped diamond face storage box. He could not bear to look at it. Lin Yuan suddenly began to reflect in his heart. Am I still a good father to Red Thorn if I let it eat such smelly things? Lu Jie and Listen communicated with their eyes. Lu Jie saw Listen winking at him and simply said, I've laid my cards on the table. I laid my cards on the table. I didn't get anything. After saying that, he took out the golden silk brocade pouch containing 30 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. Upon hearing that, Listen also took out the golden silk brocade pouch containing 30 heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. Me too. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan asked, Are there no suitable resources to exchange? Lu Jie and Listen nodded and then shook their heads. Then, Listen took the lead to speak. Even if the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls are relatively precious strategic class resources, they can only be exchanged for resources of the same level. I don't think it's a good deal. Lu Jie also echoed. I feel the same way. Compared to those strategic resources of the same level, the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls are more convenient to circulate. It's better to keep the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in your hands. Upon hearing Lu Jie and Listen's words, Lin Yuan finally understood what the problem was. He had not taken the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls too seriously, and used their advantage to exchange for resources of the same strategic value. This was because he knew how easy it was for him to obtain the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. As long as he lay in bed and slept, he could pick up a few in the spirit lock spatial zone the next day. However, Listen and Lu Jie looked at the value of the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls from a normal person's point of view. With such a comparison, Lin Yuan felt that he was really a spendthrift. However, immediately after, Lin Yuan found that the conversation between Listen and Lu Jie was somewhat magical. Both of them had an awkward expression on their faces. Lu Jie said in a low, muffled voice. In that case, the two of us didn't exchange for anything. It's a draw. Listen heaved a sigh of relief when he heard Lu Jie's words, but Lu Jie's words made him cough. Since we didn't complete it, It's counted as both of us losing. Listen looked dumbfounded at Lu Jie and asked, Brother Lu, why don't you think that both of us won? Since we didn't exchange for anything, it means we lost. Since we didn't get anything, it means that we've lost. If we lose, we'll be punished together. Listen asked, looking at Lu Jie suspiciously. Brother Lu, is it because you like to eat spicy food? So you want me, a person who loves to eat sour food, to eat spicy food with you? Jie. Lu said. Even if I love spicy food, I won't eat a platinum devil pepper. God, listen Lu demon, listen Yang, Lu, listen said. Listen Lu, san that, Su, time, listen, time. Listen, God. Lin Yuan God, time. Ling Lin. Thorn. Lin listen. Jia. Listen. Since Big Brother Lu is so fair, we have to keep our promise about not drinking milk and drinking iced Coke after eating. However, the two of them must have made a bet again, and the bet was about the platinum devil pepper. He felt that Listen and Lu Jie were really warriors. Lin Yuan could eat spicy food, but he would sweat all over when he ate something too spicy, and his stomach would feel like it was on fire. Once he ate a platinum demon pepper, his stomach would probably explode like a volcano even if they each took half. And the worst thing would be the next morning, when he went to the toilet, his ass would probably fly off. Lin Yuan still remembered that Lu Jie had eaten 30 cool sour lemons in a bet with Listen and had eaten millet porridge for several days. For Listen and Lu Jie's sake, Lin Yuan naturally had to persuade them. However, after some persuasion, he saw that Lu Jie and Listen were determined. Lin Yuan could only helplessly think of a good idea. Why don't I get you to juice the platinum demon pepper when we go back and mix it with honey to make lollipops for the two of you? This way, the sweetness can offset some of the spiciness. At that moment, Listen and Lu Jie looked at Lin Yuan and felt that he was a demon. If they swallowed half of the platinum demon pepper quickly, their mouths would be satisfied. If they made it into lollipops and held it for more than 10 minutes, their lips would probably swell bigger than their heads. They could only walk with their heads down and prevent their swollen lips from falling forward. At that moment, Lu Jie and Listen looked at each other and directly abandoned the fairness and integrity in their hearts as they spoke. They said, I think since it's a draw, it's a win-win situation. Yes, I think so too. Lin Yuan raised his brows and thought to himself. Do these two think that when used lollipops are not enough? Lin Yuan scratched his head and was a little puzzled. He felt that it was delicious when he ate it. Lin Yuan was now a pauper, so he naturally did not have the mood to continue shopping in the Indigo Azure Sea Market. Otherwise, if he saw good things but could not buy them, it would simply be looking for trouble. Lin Yuan pondered for a moment and said, It's still early. It's still early. Why don't we go to the shallow coastal sea to take a look? Let's see what secrets are hidden in the shallow coastal sea that the third lineage of the Zhang family is so concerned about. Upon hearing that, Listen's heart trembled. In this world, probably no one wanted to know more than Listen what secrets the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's nearshore shallow sea had. Listen had always wanted to know if the deaths of his loved ones had anything to do with the secret of the coastal sea. Upon sensing the change in Listen's expression, Lu Jie patted his shoulder and spoke in a deep voice. Our Radiance 100 has just sent a notification that the active period of the dimensional rift has been researched by a few Class 5 scholars. It will be 1 or 2 days earlier than expected. Therefore, it's best to complete the investigation of this coastal sea within a day or two. Otherwise, there might be unforeseen events during the active period of the dimensional rift. After listening to Lu Jie's information, Lin Yuan lamented that he had a Radiance 100 sequence member like Lu Jie by his side. It was really convenient to always know some news in advance. On the other hand, he was lamenting that he didn't have much time left. Under Listen's guidance, Lin Yuan and Lu Jie arrived near the shallow coastal sea where the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce was located. As soon as they arrived at the shallow coastal sea near the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, Lin Yuan's expression instantly became serious. As soon as he smelled the scent, Lin Yuan knew that the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's shallow coastal sea was really unusual. Second, more. Seeking recommendation votes and monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 450. This shallow near-shore sea actually had such a fishy smell. Lin Yuan was simply too familiar with this unique fishy smell. It was the smell of the water world dimensional life forms' flesh and blood rotting. At this time, the sea breeze on the coast was very strong. Any smell would be taken hundreds of meters away in an instant and then disappear without a trace in the blink of an eye. However, the sea breeze could not cover up the smell of the water world dimensional life forms' flesh and blood rotting on the shore. This meant that there were a large number of water world dimensional life forms rotting on the shore of this shallow near-shore sea. Just as Lin Yuan's expression became more and more serious, Lu Jie frowned and said, "Could it be that a water world dimensional rift has just opened on the shore? Could it be that a water world dimensional rift has just opened on the shore? Why are there so many water world dimensional life forms' flesh and blood rotting on the shore?" While speaking, Lu Jie looked at the calm seaside not far away, and his frown deepened. The sparkling waves on the surface of the sea rose. Obviously, there was no large-scale battle between phase and water world dimensional life forms in the sea at this time. Listen pondered for a moment and said, "I've been here before I went to the royal capital, and nothing unusual happened." Listen was also wondering how many water world dimensional life forms' flesh and blood were rotting together in such a wide space. Only then could they, who stood with their backs to the wind, smell such a pungent fishy smell. Listen hurriedly took out 3 light cyan wax slices from his diamond face storage box and handed them to Lin Yuan and Lu Jie. "These are shards of the Mirage Aura Coral. Put the shards in your hands and cover your nose. It can use the Mirage Aura emitted by these shards to cover up the water world dimensional life form's rotten smell." At that moment, Listen saw Lin Yuan raise his hand and say, "Smell it. The water world dimensional life form's rotten smell is becoming fainter and fainter. Wait a little longer. If this smell can become fainter or disappear, we'll go up and take a look." Lin Yuan thought to himself. If the smell became fainter, it meant that a large number of water world dimensional life forms had just been slaughtered and then been swept to the shore by the current. The source sand stuck to the amber button-shaped diamond face storage box on Lin Yuan's cuff landed on the beach under his feet, turned into gravel, and drilled into the beach. Lu Jie noticed Lin Yuan's action and used his spiritual energy to summon the Insect Queen. After the Insect Queen was summoned, a small humanoid fairy sprang out of the throbbing purple flesh cocoon. It was the Insect Queen's main body. The fairy-type source-type life form, the Insect Queen, had exquisite wings that were a combination of moth wings and transparent fleece wings. After the Insect Queen flew out of the purple flesh cocoon, it immediately hugged Lu Jie's neck and rubbed its little face against Lu Jie's neck. Lu Jie held the petite Insect Queen in front of him with his palm and said, "Pian, we have to prepare for battle. Go spread out the sea of insects according to the A formation." Under Lu Jie's instructions, Insect Queen Pian turned into a stream of light and entered the purple flesh cocoon. The purple flesh cocoon landed on the ground, and its body expanded to over 3 meters. There were many sac-like tubes that were unique to insect species phase. These sac-like pipes pulsated, and there seemed to be something flowing rapidly in the pipes. After transforming, the Insect Queen looked like an insect tribe's mother nest. The moment the Insect Queen transformed, the bayonet beetles that had been optimized by the cocoon of evolution evolved into flesh-mincing blade insects one after another. They were being mass-produced at an extremely fast speed from the mother nest that was 3 meters away. Then, the shield ladybugs with thick armor and the plasma caterpillars with bluish-purple spikes on their bodies swarmed out. After these shield ladybugs were produced, they consciously guarded behind them. Then, the 2 pieces of thick armor on its back split open, forming an impenetrable wall. Under Lu Jie's command, they advanced toward the coast step by step. The plasma caterpillars consciously followed behind the shield ladybugs, adjusting the plasma in their bodies, ready to eject at any time. Meanwhile, the massive number of flesh-mincing blade insects that covered half of the beach all scuttled into the sand. Lin Yuan manipulated the source sand and could feel that every flesh-mincing blade insect under the sand was in an attack posture that was ready to attack. They would launch a swift and violent attack at any time according to Lu Jie's command. Immediately afterward, the Insect Queen's mother nest seemed to be stuck and trembled violently. When the Insect Queen that had transformed into the insect tribe's hive stopped trembling violently, nearly 100 lightning-gathering moths and hurricane owlet moths formed a swarm and flew out of the hole in the Insect Queen's mother nest. The lightning-gathering moths were only half the size of a palm, but they had a purple antenna on their heads that was about the same length as their bodies. The hurricane owlet moths were more than twice the size of the lightning-gathering moths, and their cyan butterfly wings had fine black patterns. The black pattern seemed to be able to absorb the light that drifted between heaven and earth, making the hurricane owlet moths fly at night forever. The moment the lightning-gathering moths appeared, the plasma caterpillars seemed to have found their backbone, and a large amount of plasma accumulated in their bodies spurted out. These plasma were directly drawn over by the lightning-gathering moths. A large amount of plasma filled the lightning-gathering moths with bluish-purple electric arcs. As the electric arcs jumped, the lightning-gathering moth's originally faint purple body became a deep purple. As the electric arcs flickered, the dark purple wings faintly carried a layer of silver luster. This layer of silver luster was the unique characteristic of the lightning-gathering moths when the thunder energy in their bodies had reached saturation. In less than a minute, Lu Jie had the insect queen set up the battlefield. If the insect swarm was compared to a war machine, then each insect unit produced by the insect queen would be like a small part of this huge war machine. These small parts had their respective positions and responsibilities, making the war machine-like insect C operate with the fastest and most precise efficiency. Lu Jie, who was beside Lin Yuan, was the heart of this insect swarm and the only commander. After setting up the insect C, the insect queen's mother nest shrank into a purple flesh cocoon again. Lu Jie took out a gold protein cocoon chrysalis from the diamond face storage box and fed it to the insect queen. He let the insect queen replenish the energy it had consumed to create the insect swarm. The insect queen flew up with the protein cocoon chrysalis that Lu Jie handed over and gently kissed Lu Jie's face. Then, it glanced at Lin Yuan and listened, as though it was afraid to see strangers, and burrowed into the purple flesh cocoon. It began to enjoy the gold protein cocoon chrysalis alone. Lin Yuan had experienced how shy Lu Jie's insect queen was when he had been in the mansion. Feeling the flesh-mincing blade insects lurking underground, Lin Yuan's mind suddenly gave birth to a strange idea. Tips and updates for Magic Jason. Looking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Buttons are still in the hospital. Tips that I owe will be returned slowly. Sob, sob, sob. End of this chapter. Chapter 451. Apart from energy, producing so many insect species phase required a lot of protein. How much protein was needed? Lu Jie could really afford it. At the same time, Lin Yuan's source sand was not idle. This was the shore. Although there were many reefs, most of the sandy beach under their feet was sea sand. Therefore it was very easy for the source sand to produce sand. However, Lin Yuan found that the sand on the shore was wet. After being soaked in seawater, the weight of the sand would increase. Therefore it was far less convenient to control the wet sand as it was to control the dry sand. At that moment, Zhou Luo, whom Lin Yuan had previously notified, had also arrived. The shield ladybugs spawned by Lu Jie's insect queen had now gathered on the shore with their backs erected, forming a solid wall. Only a few shield ladybugs were still around for protection. When Zhou Luo saw the large group of insect species phase on the shore, especially the shield ladybugs, lightning-gathering moths, and plasma caterpillars, he immediately thought of a person. Not long ago, the heart of insect swarm Lu Jie, who had just returned to the Radiance 100 sequence and was ranked 30th. When Zhou Luo first met Lu Jie was also wearing a strange mask. Although Zhou Luo had seen Lu Jie's true appearance, a low-class king-class expert like Zhou Luo, who had been running around to upgrade phase all year round, rarely had time to stay on Star Web. At first, Zhou Luo only felt that Lu Jie looked familiar, as if he had seen him somewhere. Zhou Luo only thought that Lu Jie might look familiar and did not think much about it. However, he did not expect Lu Jie to be the Radiance 100 sequence's 30th prodigy. Along the way, Zhou Luo was afraid that riding a flying fae to this shallow nearshore sea would be too eye-catching and be targeted by people with ulterior motives. Originally, the Guild Alliance branch that Zhou Luo had inquired about was near this shallow nearshore sea, so he jogged all the way over. Lin Yuan asked when he saw Zhou Luo arrive. Has the lava iguana reached Diamond? Upon hearing that, Zhou Luo's eyes were full of gratitude. Young master, the lava iguana has now relied on the flawless dragon's mouth orchid flowers you gave, and that tube of diamond dragon species fey blood to awaken its dragon species bloodline and evolve into a lava dragon lizard. At the same time, with the bloodline awakening energy, it has successfully reached Diamond. Having said that, Zhou Luo summoned the evolved lava dragon lizard. The lava dragon lizard belonged to the giant iguana species and had evolved from Zhou Luo's original 6-meter-long lava iguana. At present, The lava dragon lizard's body was nearly 12 meters long. Although it wasn't considered a huge lizard fae among the giant lizard species faes, the lava dragon lizard's body was much larger than the lava dragon lizard. But it could be ranked in the middle. The lava dragon lizard had 2 heads. One head was of the earth element, while the other was of the fire element. However, when the energies of the 2 heads collided, the earth and fire attributes fused together, turning it into surging magma. The lava Japalura's spiritual intelligence was not low. It also knew that other than its contractor, Xueqi, it had received someone else's grace for it to be able to have its current transformation. Therefore, the lava dragon lizard lowered its 2 heads in front of Lin Yuan. Faes that had awakened the dragon species bloodline were usually arrogant, and it was rare to see a situation like the lava dragon lizard. Seeing this, Xueqi used his hands to stroke the lava dragon lizard's neck like a feather duster. He watched as his former partner, the iron bone iguana, mutated and evolved all the way into the current lava dragon lizard. Xueqi couldn't help but think of Freezing Cold, who had insulted him in the purchase with no loss store. Time had changed, and less than 10 days had passed. Xueqi could now say that his talent had completely surpassed Freezing Cold. 2 lizard species faes had awakened the dragon species bloodline. Among them, the dark snake dragon lizard had awakened the dragon species bloodline at bronze. As long as there was enough time to grow, the lava dragon lizard and the dark snake dragon lizard's grades would increase. Then, he would be able to go from the lowest position among king-class experts to the high-end combat power of king-class experts. Lin Yuan could completely understand Xueqi's joy. Lin Yuan was also someone who had climbed up from the dust, so he could still empathize with Xueqi's joy of metamorphosis. At that moment, the joy on Xueqi's face disappeared, and he said with a stern expression, "In the Guild Alliance, I didn't have to spend the slightest effort to find out a lot about this shallow nearshore sea. This coastal sea has been rumored to be a forbidden area in the Guild Alliance. Many spirit chi professionals have disappeared near this coastal sea. As the active period of the dimensional rift is approaching, the Guild Alliance did not inform the spirit guards to deal with it for now. Instead, we plan to wait until the active period of the dimensional rift ends before letting the spirit guards investigate this matter. The Guild Alliance has already sent a message to inform the spirit chi professionals not to come to this coastal sea to accept missions." Lin Yuan asked after hearing Xueqi's words. "Have you heard any news from the Guild Alliance about the frequent appearance of decaying water-world dimensional creature flesh on the shore of this shallow coastal sea?" Xueqi replied after sorting out what he had seen in the Guild Alliance's branch. "I heard from some adventurers that water-world dimensional lifeforms' flesh would occasionally appear before this coastal sea. Many spirit chi professionals don't think much of it. However, in the past 2 months, more and more water-world dimensional creatures have appeared on the shore. Many people are guessing if there are any powerful faes in the sea or if it's related to the upcoming active period of the dimensional rift." Lin Yuan immediately rejected the first guess after hearing Xueqi's words. If there were powerful faes in this water, would they come to the shore and frequently attack spirit chi professionals? However, Lin Yuan felt that it was somewhat reasonable to say that it was related to the active period of the dimensional rift. At that moment, there was no longer the smell of decaying water-world dimensional lifeforms' flesh in the wind. Lin Yuan took the lead and headed to the shore. After walking to the shore, Lin Yuan saw many places with black corrosion marks on the sandy beach on the shore. These corrosion marks were caused by the decay of the high-grade water-world dimensional lifeforms' flesh. Lin Yuan pondered for a moment and summoned Red Thorn, which was feasting in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. After being summoned, Red Thorn was abnormally happy. The huge flower, which had some petals gill-like, blew and said, "Lin Yuan, fish meat, delicious." Lin Yuan was slightly stunned when he heard Red Thorn's voice. Previously, Lin Yuan knew that Red Thorn could rely on this huge flower to blow the sound of its name. However, under the premise that Red Thorn's grade and quality had not increased, its ability to simulate sound had become much stronger. Could it be related to the gill-like transformation of Red Thorn's petals? However, Lin Yuan immediately reacted to what Red Thorn had just said. First chapter. End of this chapter. Chapter 452. Lin Yuan revealed a handsome and puzzled expression. As its father, it seemed that it was necessary for him to educate Red Thorn on what real fish meat was. How could such a smelly thing like the flesh of a gold water world dimensional life form be called fish meat? Immediately after, Lin Yuan thought that Red Thorn had taken the initiative to devour the water world dimensional lifeform's flesh in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Obviously, Red Thorn subconsciously had the impression that the flesh of the water world dimensional lifeforms was more to its taste. Lin Yuan scratched his head. Could it be that the smellier something was, the more Red Thorn liked to eat it? Lin Yuan saw that the red bough tied on Red Thorn's vine was a little dirty, so he simply untied the red bough from the vine. Then, he replaced it with the new red ribbon that Yu had specially made for Red Thorn and tied it into an exquisite double-layered bough. Red Thorn was so happy that it immediately blew on the 12 red flowers. It was like the sound of a naughty child casually tapping on the keyboard. It seemed that Red Thorn's musical talent should be communicated more with Xueqi. At that moment, the acid corrosion queen bee flew out of Red Thorn's mouth of relinquish. Just as it was about to land on Lin Yuan's shoulder, it was whipped to the ground by Red Thorn's vine. After being whipped to the ground, the acid corrosion queen bee hurriedly stayed far away from Lin Yuan. It obediently landed on Red Thorn's digestive cavity, which had degenerated into a sac, with a very obedient look. When Lin Yuan had summoned Red Thorn, Zhou Luo and Listen had only felt that the fae he had summoned looked very strange. However, after the acid corrosion queen bee flew out of the mouth of relinquish, they looked at its appearance. Listen and Zhou Luo were so shocked that their jaws almost dropped to the ground. Wasn't this bee-like fae one of Black's many faes? Which was the most popular on Star Web? In that case, didn't this strange plant fae in front of them mean that it was Black's plant fae that could spread out a sea of flowers and that many scholars had guessed but had no specific conclusion? However, this strange plant fae seemed to have evolved and was completely different from its previous image on Star Web. However, the mysterious Black on Star Web had appeared in front of them, and it was still Lin Yuan. Previously, Listen and Zhou Luo had only known that Lin Yuan was the purchase with no lost stores owner. He had powerful faction support and Emperor-class experts by his side. This powerful foundation had made Listen and Zhou Luo ignore Lin Yuan's strength, and he had never taken the initiative to show it. But now that he knew that Lin Yuan was Star Web's most mysterious hero, Young Black, he felt like crying. Only then did Listen and Zhou Luo realize that apart from his deep foundation, Lin Yuan was also so powerful. Not only had he ascended the celestial stairway with consecutive victories on Star Web, but he had also not suffered a single defeat on the celestial stairway. It could even be said that his combat power had faintly reached the standard of the Radiance 100 sequence. The sudden discovery of this secret made Listen and Zhou Luo feel a little magical. At that moment, Lin Yuan looked at the seaside and commanded Red Thorn. Red Thorn, cover this sea of flowers. After hearing Lin Yuan's instructions, Red Thorn scattered its spores to the coast through the huge spore cavity on the mouth of Relinquish. Under Red Thorn's command, the spores scattered along the coast did not grow into vines. Instead, they grew into several small spore cavity-shaped child ramets. These small spore cavity-shaped child ramets kept spraying spores. All of a sudden, the blinking eyes of Relinquish on Red Thorn's body closed. Through the roots connected to these child ramets, the few eyes of Relinquish were directly transmitted into the spore cavity-shaped child ramets. Then, Red Thorn and the spore cavity child ramets sprayed a large amount of spores into the sea. One by one, the nibbling vines sprang out from the shore, growing into the sea one after another. These growing vines would open the sharp teeth on the vines to absorb the seawater. Then, the spores sprayed out from the spore cavity in the seawater would be injected into the mud and sand at the bottom of the sea through the hollow vines. Relying on these methods, a large number of vines formed a sea of flowers that spread in all directions at the bottom of the sea. Lin Yuan could feel the speed at which Red Thorn spread the sea of flowers in the sea, and could not help but frown slightly. Red Thorn's spores had always been small and light in order to be easy to spread in the air. However, these small and light spores became a disadvantage in the seawater. The rapid waves would instantly sweep away the small and light spores like Red Thorn. Even with the help of the vines, the spreading speed was still very slow. After all, the vines could only grab a small number of spores. Lin Yuan thought to himself. It seems that if I want to increase Red Thorn's ability to fight under the sea in the future, I have to let Red Thorn strengthen the spore cavity again. This will allow the spores released from the spore cavity to be divided into two states. One was suitable for spreading in the air, while the other was suitable for spreading in the seawater. A portion of the spores that Red Thorn had injected into the soil by the vines in the sea had also been developed into spore cavity-shaped child ramets. However, when these child ramets also released spores, the spores would be directly swept to the surface of the sea by the surging waves at the bottom of the sea. Since Red Thorn had not devoured enough gold water world dimensional life forms, the ability to breathe underwater was well inherited to the child Ramets. Therefore, the sea of flowers that Red Thorn spread in the sea did not have as powerful a combat ability as on land. However, it was undoubtedly enough to use the sea of flowers as Lin Yuan's eyes in the sea. Since there was a high possibility of danger in this sea region, he didn't dare to act recklessly. In that case, he would not easily go into the water before exploring this sea region clearly. As the sea of flowers continued to spread, Lin Yuan was surprised to find that there was not the slightest vitality in this shallow near-shore sea. The sea of flowers that Red Thorn had spread out wasn't small. However, Lin Yuan did not see any trace of the many shellfish phase that Listen had mentioned, the beak-billed spiny fish, and the shell-eating armored turtles that fed on shellfish phase. Since the beak-mouthed spiny fish had not been discovered, it was impossible for the tail-cutting shadow sharks, which fed on the beak-mouthed spiny fish, to remain in this area. He just didn't know that the group of tail-cutting shadow sharks left because there were no beak-billed spiny fish to feed on in this area. Or were they expelled or killed by something else in the sea? Lin Yuan asked Listen, who was standing beside him with a shocked expression on his face. When you came to look at this coastal sea before you left, did you enter the sea to check the shellfish phase in the sea region? When Listen heard Lin Yuan's words, he didn't understand why Lin Yuan would ask this. Could there be something wrong with this sea? The 2 poisonous water conger eels that I left Indigo Azure City to look for you to enhance for me in the royal capital were caught in this sea region. Second, more requesting recommendation votes and monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 453. Listen recalled for a while and said again. At that time, there were layers of shellfish phase, and those 2 poisonous water conger eels always scuttled into a large patch of shellfish phase to hide their figures. When I sent people to capture them, it really took a lot of effort. Upon hearing Listen's words, Lin Yuan was certain that this sea region had lost its vitality. It had all happened within the last 3 months. Lin Yuan had always felt that Red Thorn's eye of relinquished consumption rate was a little too fast. At first, he had only treated it as the normal consumption of spreading the sea of flowers in the sea. After all, he had never commanded Red Thorn to launch an attack in the sea before. Through Red Thorn's sea of flowers, he sensed the state of the seabed and suddenly realized something. The nibbling vines were rooted at the bottom of the sea, and only the nibbling vines that were close to the shore could absorb energy from the bottom of the sea. The further it was from the shore, the less energy it could absorb from the sea. The energy at the bottom of the sea, which was a kilometer away from the shore, seemed to have been completely extracted by something. There was not a trace of energy left, causing the entire seabed to become abnormally barren. As he pondered, he let Red Thorn continue to consume the Eye of Relinquish to release spores in this sea region. Slowly, the Eye of Relinquish on Red Thorn's body was gradually depleted. However, a portion of Red Thorn's sea of flowers had already exceeded the listening heron chamber of Commerce's coastal sea. Lin Yuan's perception ability had become extremely poor in the distant sea. However, Lin Yuan could sense that Red Thorn's nibbling vines in the other sea regions were absorbing some weak flesh energy. That weak flesh energy feedback might be that the nibbling vines had captured a fish-type Fae through simple grabbing. This meant that there was vitality in the other sea regions, and it was only in the sea region where the listening heron chamber of commerce was located that there was no vitality. The Zheng family had suddenly taken action against the listening heron chamber of commerce 3 months ago. The Zheng family was one of the 3 great families in Indigo Azure City. Since the Zheng family's 3rd lineage placed so much importance on this coastal sea, they would naturally investigate it. Therefore, it was impossible for the Zhang family's 3rd lineage not to know that the listening heron chamber of commerce's coastal sea no longer had abundant shellfish phase. The Zheng family was so determined to obtain this near-shore shallow sea that was completely barren and had no shellfish phase. This meant that the 3rd lineage of the Zheng family must have grasped the secret of why this coastal sea had become so barren. Before Lin Yuan could think about it carefully, he suddenly sensed a drastic change in Red Thorn's sea of flowers in the distant sea. Red Thorn's sea of flowers seemed to be entangled by a large number of things in an instant. These unknown things wrapped around and nibbled at the sea of flowers formed by the vines. He could feel a large amount of flesh energy being plundered by the things entangling the sea of flowers formed by the nibbling vines. The speed at which this thing plundered vitality shocked Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan looked at Lu Jie and nodded at him with a serious expression. Lu Jie immediately commanded the flesh-mincing blade insects lurking in the sea of sand to emerge one after another. Under Lu Jie's command, these flesh-mincing blade insects happily lined up and entered Red Thorn's mouth of relinquish. Like a group of sows lining up to jump into a ditch, neat and orderly. Red Thorn was not afraid, and its tongue of relinquish secreted a large amount of acid used to digest the alien insect's dimensional flesh. It helped Red Thorn's mouth of relinquish digest these flesh-mincing blade insects and quickly extracted energy from their flesh. Just like that, Zhou Luo and Lisan's eyelids twitched wildly. Lin Yuan used the energy obtained by Red Thorn from digesting the flesh-mincing blade insects to urge the Sea of Flowers to counterattack. However, the more it counterattacked, the more serious Lin Yuan's eyes became. Red Thorn's Sea of Flowers, which had always been successful, was obviously not a match at this time. Lin Yuan could feel that the things fighting with Red Thorn were becoming more and more numerous. However, Lin Yuan found that the things fighting with Red Thorn did not seem to know how to move or were very clumsy. As Red Thorn kept receiving attacks in the battle, the flesh energy in the Sea of Flowers was also absorbed by this thing at a faster rate. Moreover, this unknown creature's absorption of the Sea of Flowers had even affected Red Thorn's Ortet, which was connected to the Ortet through these child ramets. Lin Yuan hurriedly let Red Thorn devour the remaining energy in the Sea of Flowers. Immediately after, Lin Yuan closed his eyes and fell into deep thought. Through his perception of the Sea of Flowers just now, there seemed to be countless thorns piercing into each of the entangling vines. Through these thorns, the flesh energy in the vines was quickly plundered in large amounts. The counterattack of the vines did not seem to have the slightest effect. This was because Lin Yuan did not feel that the vines had absorbed any flesh energy when they counterattacked. Lin Yuan thought to himself, could it be that there was a large group of unknown creatures far away from the coast that caused this coastal sea to become so barren? But if that was the case, why did that group of unknown creatures not migrate when this shallow nearshore sea was already so barren? Why did they still stay in the depths of this shallow nearshore sea? Through the battle just now, Lin Yuan could determine that this group of unknown creatures' thorns' attack power was not considered strong. What was truly powerful was the speed at which these unknown creatures devoured energy. These thorns' attack power should not be able to beat the tail-cutting shadow shark. They could not even pierce the thorns of the beak-billed spiny fish that fed on shellfish phase. Lu Jie asked worriedly when he saw the expression on Lin Yuan's face. Lin Yuan, did you discover something bad? Lin Yuan opened his eyes, shook his head, and then nodded. The discovery obtained from Red Thorn's Sea of Flowers at the bottom of the sea couldn't be considered a bad discovery. This was because the things that devoured the energy of the vines should have nothing to do with the flesh of high-level waterworld dimensional creatures that appeared on the shore. However, the destruction of the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's coastal sea resources was definitely not considered good news. All of a sudden, he thought of the lifeform's energy-plundering speed, the barren seabed, and the lifeform's immobility. Lin Yuan immediately thought of a possibility. If it was really as he thought, Lin Yuan could only say that he was really the reincarnation of the god of fortune. He had truly encountered a blessing this time. Lu Jie was a little confused by Lin Yuan shaking his head and then nodding his head. Then he heard Lin Yuan say, "That's right. Brother Lu, let your hurricane owlet moths take me to the sea 3,000 meters away from the shore." The place where Red Thorn's Sea of Flowers had just been attacked was nearly 3,000 meters away from the shore. Whether it was a blessing or a danger, Lin Yuan felt that he needed to go into the sea to be sure. First, more. Seeking monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 454. Anyway, Lin Yuan knew that the Mother of Bloodbath was protecting him and that his master, the Moon Empress, had given him the extreme token. Even if there was danger, he would be able to respond immediately. Moreover, the danger 3,000 meters from the shore should not be higher than the Mother of Bloodbath's suzerain/myth 2 strength, right? While talking to Lu Jie, Lin Yuan was also a little embarrassed. He, Lu Jie, Listen, and Zhou Luo did not seem to have a flying fae that they could ride. Now that they needed the ability to fly, they had to rely on the moths produced by Lu Jie's insect queen. Although Lin Yuan could rely on the source sand's feathers made of day and night spirit silver to form 4 wings to fly in the air, the 4 wings formed by the day and night spirit silver were only for defense. However, the 4 wings formed by the day and night spirit silver could only be used for defense. As for flight, it relied on the weightlessness of the day and night spirit silver. However, The sea breeze was so strong that Lin Yuan's C-rank spirit chi professional spiritual power could control the four wings formed by the day and night spirit silver. It was very likely that Lin Yuan would become a kite with a broken string under the sea breeze. The insect queen's hurricane owlet moths had the ability to control the wind and would not be affected by the sea breeze at all. In fact, the sea breeze would even speed up the hurricane owlet moth's flying speed. The violent sea breeze was also one of the reasons why so many spirit chi professionals still did not dare to fly over the sea, even if they had wind-type phase. Lin Yuan had let the hurricane owlet moths fly over the sea area because he had explored this shallow coastal sea, and dared to do so with the protection of an expert like the Mother of Bloodbath. Lu Jie did not ask much after hearing Lin Yuan's request. He immediately commanded the 4 hurricane owlet moths to fly toward Lin Yuan. Lu Jie knew that Lin Yuan was not a rash person, so he must have found something for such a request. 2 black wind owlet moths grabbed onto Lin Yuan's shoulders, while the other 2 grabbed onto his waist from both sides. They took Lin Yuan into the air and headed toward the designated sea area according to Lin Yuan's instructions. Lin Yuan's 4 hurricane owlet moths controlled the wind energy to take him into the air and fly over the sea area. Looking at the vast sea, Lin Yuan was suddenly intoxicated by the sea's blue. Through the sea surface, Lin Yuan could see the seabed 100 meters below. The desolate seabed made the sea exceptionally vast. The lifeless silence of the sea contained a kind of boundless beauty. 100 rivers flowing east to the sea. When will they return to the west? The ocean was vast, and rivers converged from all directions, gathering water from all directions. At that moment, Lin Yuan seemed to have the feeling of flying in the clouds from the Xia region to Redbud City for the first time when he had taken a flying fei for the first time. Suddenly, Lin Yuan had a hint of enlightenment in his mind. The enlightenment in Lin Yuan's mind revealed a sense of inclusiveness and convergence. Just like how the water in the ocean would never flow backward into the river, even if the reddest water would return to the river, it would be through other means. When he recovered from this trace of enlightenment, he could not help but shake his head. When Lin Yuan was reading the book, he had a realization in his mind. However, this kind of comprehension was stuck at a critical point, and he had been unable to break through it. Lin Yuan had yet to fully comprehend the insights he had gained from reading the book, but he now had a trace of new enlightenment. This new insight was completely different from the one he had when he was reading the book. If he could completely comprehend these 2 insights, it would mean that he had 2 types of willpower runes. However, in Lin Yuan's opinion, although he had 2 kinds of insights, they were both stuck in his mind. Rather than that, Lin Yuan would rather sacrifice one kind of insight in exchange for the other to completely comprehend and condense a willpower rune. It was not that there was a barrier between the 2 kinds of insights that could not be pierced. At that moment, the Mother of Bloodbath's strange and pleasant voice rang in Lin Yuan's ears. Congratulations on entering a state of epiphany just now. Upon hearing the Mother of Bloodbath's congratulations, Lin Yuan's mouth hung a trace of a bitter smile. I just entered a state of epiphany and obtained a trace of new insight. It is not a willpower rune. What is there to congratulate? Being hung by 2 kinds of insights is really a kind of sweet distress. When the Mother of Bloodbath sensed Lin Yuan's bitter smile, it could not help but feel a little speechless. Kid, you really don't take this state of epiphany seriously. Some people may not even have such an opportunity in their entire lives. Look at those spirit chi professionals. Their fays have reached Diamond and Legend, but they have been unable to become fantasy breeds because they have been unable to comprehend a willpower rune. Isn't there a lot of cases? They just lack a chance to enter a state of epiphany like this. Upon hearing the Mother of Bloodbath's words, Lin Yuan was a little glad that he had not spoken out his true thoughts. Otherwise, the Mother of Bloodbath would probably turn into the Mother of Lemons again and sour his scalp. Lin Yuan withdrew his thoughts and stopped thinking about these 2 kinds of insights in his mind. Instead, he said to the Mother of Bloodbath, Mother of Bloodbath, I will need your help in the sea later. The Mother of Bloodbath's strange and pleasant voice replied, Mother of Bloodbath, I will need your help in the sea later. The Mother of Bloodbath's strange and pleasant voice replied, Speak up. If you have anything to say, just say it. My fighting ability in the water isn't much weaker than on land. When I was still at Gold, it rained in the endless forest for 3 consecutive years. All the bird fays ran away, and the forest almost turned into a swamp. I sank into the swamp to catch fish. I found that these fish fays are much easier to catch than birds. It's just that the taste of the fish is not as good as the finger original chicken I ate a few days ago. Of course, the birds I ate before were all raw and not as good as the cooked finger original chicken. The mother of Bloodbath clearly had some recollection when it mentioned the finger original chicken. Lin Yuan had heard the mother of Bloodbath talk about what had happened when it was at gold. It must have been a long time ago. Although the mother of Bloodbath said it casually, the 3 consecutive years of heavy rain must have made the mother of Bloodbath suffer a lot when it was at gold. If it was not for the extreme lack of food, how could a tarantula change the diet engraved in its genes and catch fish underwater? The mother of Bloodbath had never talked about what had happened when it was at low grade before, but it mentioned it to Lin Yuan by chance this time. Those memories that it had thrown to the back of its mind slowly emerged in front of its eyes again. The mother of Bloodbath thought of eating and sleeping in the open before it transformed, and then thought about every bit of life in the mansion now that it had transformed into a human form. The bright red stingers on the mother of Bloodbath's legs could not help but tremble twice in joy. At that moment, if the mother of Bloodbath was not on Lin Yuan's skull but a coconut, the mother of Bloodbath must use its spider legs to break the coconut shell to express the joy in its heart. Second, more asking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. There will be updates tonight. Hee hee, end of this chapter. Chapter 455. The 4 hurricane owlet moths took Lin Yuan to the designated sea area and stopped flying. Lin Yuan was not in a hurry to go into the sea. Instead, he summoned the gold-green oxygen sea anemone that he had previously purchased from his amber button-shaped diamond face storage box. Lin Yuan had placed the green oxygen sea anemone in the spirit lock spatial zone and nourished it with high-concentration spirit chi for nearly half an hour. Then, he put it back into the amber button-shaped diamond face storage box. At that moment, the green oxygen sea anemone was in an excellent state. It was constantly stretching its short, light green tentacles and was very lively. When Lin Yuan put the green oxygen sea anemone upside down on his mouth and nose, he immediately felt the green oxygen sea anemone's unique fresh smell as a marine plant. Lin Yuan could not breathe in the sea, so he would rely on this gold-green oxygen sea anemone to create oxygen in the water. Lin Yuan took a deep breath and plunged into the sea. The ice-cold seawater made Lin Yuan shiver uncontrollably. Then, he felt the powerful oxygen-creating function of the gold-green oxygen sea anemone. The large amount of oxygen produced by the gold-green oxygen sea completely isolated the seawater at Lin Yuan's mouth and nose. Lin Yuan sniffed the oxygen with the unique fragrance of marine plants. He felt that the oxygen produced by the gold-green oxygen sea anemone seemed to have a slightly higher oxygen content than the usual air. A higher-grade green oxygen sea anemone could probably be used as an oxygen cylinder to release pure oxygen in the sea. Lin Yuan looked down at the bottom of the sea. If the gold-green oxygen sea anemone had not automatically protected his mouth and nose after entering the sea, Lin Yuan's coughing action just now would have caused him to choke on a large amount of seawater and become full. When he had been on the sea, due to the fine waves on the sea, Lin Yuan could only see the desolate bottom of the sea, which was almost all the same color. However, he could not look carefully and could not see what was at the bottom of the sea. Looking down at the bottom of the sea in front of him, Lin Yuan felt his scalp go numb. The bottom of the sea was filled with endless lotus flowers that looked like they were carved out of white bones. These lotus flowers were not the white of ordinary bones but the color of the grayish-white dead coral at the bottom of the sea. The bone lotus flowers were stacked on top of each other, blooming layer by layer. The higher the top of the bone lotus flower, the more pale it was. The bone lotus flower stretched as far as the eye could see, and the seabed of this sea seemed to be a desolate and beautiful bone lotus hell. However, the bone lotus hell's strange beauty gave him goosebumps in the ice-cold seawater. This kind of strange beauty under nature was beautiful to the heart and soul. In the endless sea region, Lin Yuan could not sense the existence of any life forms. Only the white bone lotuses in the sea were gently opening and closing. When the bone lotus flower opened and closed, the center of the flower emitted a cold glint. This cold glint must be the sharp thorns that Lin Yuan sensed had pierced into the vines. As he looked at the endless bone lotus flower, Lin Yuan knew why the sea of flowers formed by red thorns nibbling vines didn't absorb any flesh energy during the fight. At that moment, Lin Yuan was wrapped in ecstasy. It seemed that he really was the reincarnation of the great fortune god. He had actually guessed correctly about the things in the sea. However, he still needed to use Morbius true data to make a final confirmation. He used Morbius True data to investigate the endless seabed lotus flowers at the bottom of the sea. Fey name, sea burial lotus, derivative, Fey species, marigold species / waterbone lotus species, Fey grade, silver, 4 out of 10, Fey type, wood, Fey quality, elite. Under Morbius True data, the bone lotus flower's name was indeed the sea burial lotus flower. However, the endless bone lotus flowers at the bottom of the sea weren't the sea burial lotus flower's main body. These bone lotus flowers were just derivatives that the sea burial lotus flower had produced in order to extract energy from the bottom of the sea. The sea burial lotus flower was a famous carcinoma Fey in the sea region. The sea burial lotus flower's main body was extremely good at hiding, and it should be hidden among these endless bone lotus flowers. Lin Yuan had heard from his master, the Moon Empress, that the sea burial lotus flower had previously appeared in the depths of the sea region. At that time, all the energy in the depths of the sea region had been extracted by the sea burial lotus flower. This had caused the fertile deep sea region to become a forbidden land that no marine life form could survive in. As the sea burial lotus flower continued to expand the bone lotus flowers, it finally came into contact with a large whale beast's whale fall. The sea burial lotus flower wasn't courteous at all as it started to extract the energy from the whale fall in a frenzy. As a result, 4 of the island whale's crystal eggshells couldn't hatch due to the loss of the whale fall's energy. This caused the suzerain / myth breed marine fays in the deep sea to be infuriated. They immediately took action to eliminate the bone lotus flowers, which were the sea burial lotus flowers derivatives. After clearing the bone lotus flowers derivatives, the suzerain / myth breed marine fays finally found the sea burial lotus flower's main body. The roots of the sea burial lotus flower were extracted from the seabed within a radius of 10,000 miles, and the energy of a large whale crash, which had condensed into sobbing sea crystals. The sobbing sea crystal that was separated from the sea burial lotus flower's body was then fed to the 4 island whales' crystal eggshells and the barren, deep sea region. With the help of the sobbing sea crystal, the deep sea region was quickly revived. The 4 floating island whales' crystal eggshells also used the sobbing sea crystal's energy to successfully hatch the island whale. At that time, the Radiance Federation had shown great sincerity and wanted to exchange for the sea burial lotus flower with the high-grade marine fays in the deep sea for the spirit guards to take in. However, they were rejected by the high-grade marine fays and crushed the sea burial lotus flower, which was absolutely harmful to the sea, into powder in front of the Radiance Federation's experts. They had come to express the marine fays' attitude toward the sea burial lotus flower. It could be said that the sea burial lotus flower was extremely harmful to the sea. However, the sea burial lotus flower could also produce the indescribably precious sobbing sea crystal. At that moment, the Mother of Bloodbath jumped out of Lin Yuan's hair and turned into a human. The Mother of Bloodbath was usually calm and steady, but now it couldn't help but curse. Damn! It's actually the sea burial lotus flower. Your fortuitous encounters and luck are too shocking. Just as Lin Yuan wanted to say something, he recalled that he was still in the sea. As a myth breed fae, the Mother of Bloodbath could breathe and speak freely in the sea, but Lin Yuan couldn't do it and had to rely on the gold-green oxygen sea anemone. Therefore, Lin Yuan could only extend his hand and give the Mother of Bloodbath a thumbs up with a smile. Tipping and updating for Mommy Daddy is a man. End of this chapter. Chapter 456. When the Mother of Bloodbath saw Lin Yuan's smug expression, it could not help but roll its eyes. Immediately after, the Mother of Bloodbath began to help Lin Yuan find the true body of the sea burial lotus flower. Lin Yuan could not help but rejoice. It was fortunate that the sea burial lotus flower had appeared in the shallow sea near the shore. The resources in the shallow sea were far inferior to the deep sea, which resulted in the sea burial lotus flower's bone lotus flower spreading slowly. Furthermore, the resources in this coastal sea weren't enough to help the sea burial lotus flower spread the bone lotus flower to other sea regions. It allowed the bone lotus flower to hunt wantonly in other sea regions. It was also because the sea burial lotus flower had appeared in the listening heron chamber of commerce's shallow sea. Listen had chosen to come to the royal capital to pledge loyalty to him, allowing Lin Yuan the opportunity to discover the sea burial lotus flower. This shallow sea, which was rich in shellfish fays, was ravaged by the bone lotus flower. Corals, marine plants, shellfish fays, and fays living at the bottom of the sea would all suffer. On one hand, the sea burial lotus flower would squeeze out all the energy in the sea. On the other hand, the corals, marine plants, and shellfish fays living at the bottom of the sea would be devoured by the bone lotus flower. The bone lotus flower would then transmit the energy to the sea burial lotus flower. Finally, the energy would be transformed into sobbing sea crystals by the sea burial lotus flower. With the energy at the bottom of the sea being squeezed out, all life in the sea would be cut off. Fays that could move would naturally be able to escape from this barren sea region and would not come back again. Lin Yuan watched as the mother of bloodbath continuously brandished its blood energy at the bottom of the sea, destroying the bone lotus derivatives. Lin Yuan's eyelids twitched violently as he quickly called for it to stop. As a carcinoma fey, the sea burial lotus flower might be extremely destructive to the sea, but its body was very fragile. If it was affected by the mother of bloodbath's blood energy, the sea burial lotus flower's body would probably die. Compared to the sea burial lotus flower's sobbing sea crystals, the sea burial lotus flower had squeezed out all the energy in the shallow sea. Lin Yuan wanted the sea burial lotus flower's body more. The energy that the sea burial lotus flower extracted from the ocean wasn't water elemental energy. Instead, it was the flesh energy that existed at the bottom of the ocean, as well as the spirit chi that was deposited at the bottom of the ocean. The sea burial lotus flower converted all the energy it absorbed into sobbing sea crystals of the same type as itself. The silver 4/elite sea burial lotus flower was of the wood attribute. Therefore, the sobbing sea crystal condensed by the sea burial lotus flower was of the wood attribute. The wood-type sobbing sea crystal was a sacred nourishing item for wood-type fays. However, it was a lethal poison to other fays. If a fae with a different attribute from the sobbing sea crystal used the sobbing sea crystal, the crystal's energy would explode within the body. It was easy to imagine how terrifying it would be when all the energy extracted from the sea exploded in one's body. However, when the sea burial lotus flower reached gold, it would gain another type of attribute. The addition of an additional attribute allowed the sobbing sea crystal to be used even more widely. Thinking about the sobbing sea crystal produced by the sea burial lotus flower that appeared once in the deep sea, the Moon Empress thought about it. It should be a dual element of water and wood. Otherwise, the 4 slumbering island whales wouldn't have hatched from the energy eggshell. In Lin Yuan's opinion, the most suitable place for the sea burial lotus flower to live was the spirit pool in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. His spirit pool had an inexhaustible supply of spirit chi. The sea burial lotus flower only needed to constantly absorb the abundant spirit chi, and didn't need to produce the bone lotus flower to plunder the energy. It only needed to focus on producing the sobbing sea crystal. Therefore, Lin Yuan didn't wish for the sea burial lotus flower to suffer any damage. When the mother of bloodbath heard Lin Yuan's order to stop, it looked at Lin Yuan with a puzzled expression. The sea burial lotus flower's derivatives covered an extremely large area. If one didn't use their energy range to search, they wouldn't be able to find anything. It was easier said than done to find the sea burial lotus flower's main body, which was adept at concealment. At that moment, Lin Yuan had been activating Morbius True Data. True Data might not have the ability to locate, but Lin Yuan could rely on it to scan a large area of the bone lotus flower. Using True Data, Lin Yuan found the sea burial lotus flower hidden within the bone lotus flower. Lin Yuan swam to the surface of the sea. After breaking through the surface, he waved his hand at the 4 hurricane owlet moths. The hurricane owlet moths controlled the wind energy to bring Lin Yuan back into the air. Then, they used the wind energy to blow dry Lin Yuan's moon-white spirit chi clothes. Lin Yuan looked at the 4 hurricane owlet moths' actions, and knew that this wasn't the hurricane owlet moths' intelligence. In order to let the hurricane owlet moths cooperate with him better, he had let the insect queen transmit its intelligence into the hurricane owlet moths' bodies to control them. The mother of bloodbath floated up from the surface of the sea. Lin Yuan said to it, "I'll let the hurricane owlet moths fly me around the sea to find the sea burial lotus flower's location." When the mother of bloodbath heard Lin Yuan's words, it only felt that it wanted to feed Lin Yuan fruits and a few big hawthorns and jujubes. If Lin Yuan was on the surface of the sea, he would be able to find the sea burial lotus flower hidden within the bone lotus flower. If that was the case, it would rather not eat the finger-sucking original chicken anymore. Lin Yuan let the hurricane owlet moths slow down and slowly carried him around the sea for a carpet search. He found that the feeling of flying over the ocean with the sea breeze, looking at the vast blue ocean, and feeling the sea breeze was really good. The lifeless dead silence in the sea seemed to have a different kind of romance under the blue sky and breeze. After searching for a long time, Lin Yuan's eyes focused, and a carefree smile appeared on his face. Lin Yuan waved at the Mother of Bloodbath in the distance. Mother of Bloodbath, the sea burial lotus flower is under this sea. After saying that, Lin Yuan took the lead and jumped into the sea. The Mother of Bloodbath rolled its eyes again and again, feeling that Lin Yuan was not very smart at the moment. However, it also jumped into the sea after Lin Yuan. After jumping into the sea, the Mother of Bloodbath subconsciously carefully explored the bottom of the sea. Although it was puzzled by Lin Yuan's words, it still subconsciously believed him. During the exploration, the Mother of Bloodbath's beautiful eyes focused, and it looked at Lin Yuan as though it was looking at an immortal. This works too. You can see the sea burial lotus flower's main body hidden so deep at the bottom of the sea. Are your eyes made of magnets? They specialize in sucking the sea burial lotus flower. But then the Mother of Bloodbath roared in its heart. Damn! If Lin Yuan really finds the sea burial lotus flower, doesn't that mean I can no longer eat the finger-sucking original chicken? First, more recommendation tickets, monthly tickets, end of this chapter. Chapter 457. While the Mother of Bloodbath was roaring in its heart, its hands did not hesitate in the slightest. It waved its hands 3 times, and the 3 intersecting blood-colored energy blasted at the bottom of the sea that was filled with bone lotus flowers. As far as Lin Yuan's eyes could see, the 3 scarlet blood-colored energies blasted an extremely deep ravine into the seabed. The bone lotus flowers that came into contact with the blood-colored energy immediately turned into white powder. The pale white powder drifted in the seawater as though an extremely cold snow had fallen on the sea. At the center of the 3 intersecting blood-colored energy, the Mother of Bloodbath circled the sea burial lotus flower's main body. This directly cut off the sea burial lotus flower's communication with most of the bone lotus flowers. Immediately after, Lin Yuan saw the small area that the Mother of Bloodbath had drawn, and the sea burial lotus flower's main body had a strange movement. The bone lotus flowers suddenly danced at the bottom of the sea like a spirit snake that had just probed out to find the enemy that had just attacked it. Lin Yuan knew that as a carcinoma fey, the sea burial lotus flower did not have sentience. It only had the instinct of a life form to seek benefits and avoid harm. The reaction before him was the subconscious emergency response of a life form in the face of danger. With the Mother of Bloodbath, a myth-breed fey, the silver 4 sea burial lotus flower would not be able to create any waves. The Mother of Bloodbath flew into the dancing bone lotus flowers and simply ignored the attacks from the center of the bone lotus flowers. It stretched out its white hand and fiddled with the bone lotus flowers. With a slight force, Lin Yuan saw the Mother of Bloodbath grab a petite lotus flower among the bone lotus flowers. This petite lotus flower, including its stem and leaves, had a kind of white color. This white color was not like the bone lotus flowers that had been spawned, which had a feeling of desolation and death. Instead, it had a kind of lustrous and holy feeling that made one's heart involuntarily have a kind of blasphemous thought. It was really hard to imagine that such a small thing could actually be a devil that had actually devoured the sea and turned it into a barren land. Under the pure white lotus flower was not a lotus root, but a green crystal that was not even as big as Lin Yuan's thumb was strung on the stem. This green crystal must be the wood element sobbing sea crystal that was nurtured by all the energy in this sea. This wood-type sobbing sea crystal had too many uses. Lin Yuan suddenly thought of the jasmine lily. However, the sea burial lotus flower's condensed sobbing sea crystals to improve the jasmine lily's quality was still a little extravagant in the eyes of someone like Lin Yuan, who did not hesitate to spend a lot of resources to improve his strength. He still needed to think carefully about how to use this wood-type sobbing sea crystal. After all, if the jasmine lily wanted to improve its quality from fantasy eye, there were many spiritual materials that could do so. He didn't need the wood element sobbing sea crystal. The Mother of Bloodbath flashed to Lin Yuan's side, its hair flying in the seawater. His usually expressionless face had a rare and obvious look of joy. Lin Yuan, the energy contained in the sea burial lotus flower's wood-type sobbing sea crystal is really a holy item for wood-type fays. The sea burial lotus flower is the most precious thing I've ever seen apart from sacred source life forms. The Mother of Bloodbath could not help but exclaim in admiration. Lin Yuan was a little curious when he heard the Mother of Bloodbath mention sacred source life forms. Mother of Bloodbath, you've seen sacred source life forms before. How powerful are they? Lin Yuan had heard his master, the Moon Empress, talk about sacred source life forms in detail. Although Lin Yuan understood the origin of sacred source life forms, he had never had the chance to see them. So far, The only sacred source lifeform that Lin Yuan knew the name of was Ostrich Logistics' ethereal mother shellfish. The mother of Bloodbath's eyes flashed with longing. The true strength of sacred source lifeforms is never in their offensive ability, but in their absolute and authoritative function. I don't know if I will have the chance to get involved in creation in this lifetime, evolve from a myth breed to a creation breed, and obtain a sacred source lifeform to contract after becoming a creation breed. At this point, the mother of Bloodbath added another sentence. Although the strength of sacred source lifeforms is never in their offensive ability, no sacred source lifeform is weak in terms of offensive ability. Lin Yuan could feel the mother of Bloodbath's endless longing for sacred source lifeforms in its words. From what the mother of Bloodbath said, when the mother of Bloodbath evolved into a creation breed, it would be able to contract sacred source lifeforms. As a fae, the mother of Bloodbath could also contract sacred source lifeforms. Lin Yuan asked softly. When a fae becomes a creation breed, it can contract sacred source lifeforms. Can it also contract source-type lifeforms? The mother of Bloodbath shoved the sea burial lotus flower into Lin Yuan's hand and rolled its eyes as it spoke. Faes naturally cannot contract source-type lifeforms, but humans and faes can contract sacred source lifeforms. I set to strive to contract a sacred source lifeform after becoming a creation breed because it is impossible for a myth breed to obtain a sacred source lifeform. The mother of Bloodbath felt that Lin Yuan was becoming less and less intelligent. How could he forget the common knowledge that faes could not contract source-type lifeforms? Upon seeing the mother of Bloodbath roll its eyes, Lin Yuan awkwardly touched the back of his head. Just as he was about to speak, Lin Yuan suddenly felt a wave of energy coming from the space not far above his head. Lin Yuan and the mother of Bloodbath raised their heads and looked at the fluctuating space not far away. Lin Yuan thought to himself, could it be that a water world dimensional rift was going to open up before the active period of the dimensional rift? However, Lin Yuan immediately rejected this thought in his heart. The spatial fluctuation in front of him was simply too weak. Even when a Class 1 water world dimensional rift opened, the energy fluctuation was much stronger than the spatial fluctuation above his head. Therefore, this spatial fluctuation should have nothing to do with the dimensional rift. Lin Yuan and the mother of Bloodbath immediately moved toward the spatial energy fluctuation and prepared to check it out. However, when they got close, the spatial fluctuation suddenly became a little more intense. Then, a large amount of water world dimensional lifeform's flesh was spat out from the rift and smashed toward Lin Yuan's head. If the mother of Bloodbath had not immediately pulled Lin Yuan out of the seawater and floated in mid-air, Lin Yuan would have probably fainted from the happiness. At this moment, Lin Yuan would have fainted from the stench of a large amount of high-grade water world dimensional lifeform's flesh. Lin Yuan's heart still had lingering fears in mid-air. If he was smashed by this large amount of water world dimensional lifeform's flesh, would it be any different from being pushed into a shit pit? It might even be 10,000 times more disgusting. Second, even more disgusting. Seeking recommendation votes and monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 458. But now, he finally knew where the large number of high-level water world dimensional lifeforms' flesh that had appeared on the shore had come from. This place was about 5,000 meters away from the shore. The flesh of water world dimensional lifeforms below gold would rot and sink before reaching the shore. Only the flesh of water world dimensional lifeforms above gold would have the chance to be sent to the shore by the waves and rot there. Lin Yuan looked at the sea burial lotus flower in his hand, and understood why the sea burial lotus flower's ortet would appear here. It seemed like there was a large amount of water world dimensional lifeforms' flesh here at any time, allowing the sea burial lotus flower to have a full meal on the barren seabed. Therefore, the sea burial lotus flower, which had a hard time moving on the bone lotus flower, had chosen to hide and take root here. This scene was definitely a huge discovery for Lin Yuan. The mother of Bloodbath's expression darkened. It sensed the spatial fluctuations that had disappeared after the large amount of high-grade water world dimensional lifeforms' flesh had been spat out. It frowned and seemed to be thinking about the reason. After a long time, when there were no more water world dimensional lifeforms' flesh in the sea, Lin Yuan summoned the ethereal jellyfish. As a spatial source-type lifeform, the ethereal jellyfish could even sense the tentacle node set up thousands of miles away. Naturally, its spatial perception was extremely strong. Lin Yuan planned to let the ethereal jellyfish investigate how the spatial fluctuations that had spat out the large amount of water world dimensional lifeforms' flesh had appeared. After Lin Yuan summoned the ethereal jellyfish, Its figure shuttled through the space, flickering. Just as it was about to land on Lin Yuan's head, it recalled Lin Yuan's stern warning. The ethereal jellyfish hurriedly moved down and landed on Lin Yuan's neck, looking abnormally satisfied. When the mother of Bloodbath saw the ethereal jellyfish's appearance, it swallowed its saliva. It could not help but recall the wonderful taste of Lu Jie's cold dish, the juicy jellyfish skin, and the sweet and spicy shredded jellyfish. Lin Yuan said to the ethereal jellyfish, "Ethereal jellyfish, inform me of all the spatial energy fluctuations in the sea that you can detect." When the ethereal jellyfish heard Lin Yuan's order, it flickered slightly on Lin Yuan's neck. The illusory figure seemed to have cut through several dimensions. The spatial jellyfish had already appeared in the sea beneath Lin Yuan's feet. It shook its new tentacles and sensed the hidden spatial energy fluctuations in the sea. At that moment, Lin Yuan started to deal with the sea burial lotus flower. He did not pull down the wood-type sobbing sea crystal under the sea burial lotus flower. The grade of the sea burial lotus flower was determined by the energy contained within the sobbing sea crystals. If Lin Yuan were to remove the sobbing sea crystal, the sea burial lotus flower would immediately drop from silver 4/elite to normal I/normal. Carcinoma phase were similar to normal phase and could be contracted by spirit chi professionals. Morbius' exclusive skill, Spirit Lock, had even locked his spirit. However, in Lin Yuan's opinion, it was obvious that the sea burial lotus flower wasn't suitable for battle. Instead, he was more suitable to be an outstanding producer like the elemental shellfish. For a fae like the sea burial lotus flower that had no intelligence and relied on instincts to move, the sea burial lotus flower was not as intelligent. If Lin Yuan wanted to nurture it in the spirit lock spatial zone, he would need to restrict it. The best way to restrict the sea burial lotus flower was to make the fae rely on him. After leaving the water, the sea burial lotus flower would constantly weaken. The sea burial lotus flower wasn't powerful and could even be said to be very delicate. If it left the water for too long, the sea burial lotus flower would wither and leave behind the sobbing sea crystal's roots. He circulated the spiritual power in his body at the right time and let the sea burial lotus flower absorb the pure spirit chi coming from his palm. Every time, Lin Yuan would release a trace of pure spirit chi and quickly stop. After tasting the sweetness, the sea burial lotus flower would immediately stop absorbing the pure, honey-like spirit chi. The sea burial lotus flower absorbed all sorts of energy from the seabed. The pure spirit chi that Lin Yuan released had an intoxicating attraction to the sea burial lotus flower. Every time Lin Yuan stopped circulating the spiritual power in his body, the sea burial lotus flower would shake its sacred branches and leaves. It had an attitude that said, "You are so naughty and I want spirit chi." It was as though it was acting coquettishly towards Lin Yuan. Lin Yuanza was like a top-notch scumbag, causing the sea burial lotus flower to develop an instinctive dependence on him. He would then use pulling, giving, and retrieving methods to increase the dependence of the sea burial lotus flower. After repeating for a moment, Lin Yuan stored the sea burial lotus flower into the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone's spirit pool. After entering the spirit pool, the sea burial lotus flower looked as though it was drunk as it absorbed the massive and pure spirit chi in the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. As the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone had an inexhaustible supply of pure spirit chi, the sea burial lotus flower didn't have the time to produce the bone lotus flower to help it absorb the energy. Lin Yuan asked the gold wind speed rapid antelope to watch over the spirit pool. If the sea burial lotus flower had the thought of producing the bone lotus flower, Lin Yuan would immediately control the wind energy to crush the bone lotus flower's produced bone lotus flower. At this moment, the spirit-drawing ichthyosaur, Blackie, was only at bronze X/legend. It was still unable to suppress the silver 4/elite sea burial lotus flower. If Blackie evolved into a fantasy breed, Lin Yuan would be able to control the sea burial lotus flower in the spirit pool with just the spirit-drawing ichthyosaur alone. At this moment, the space beside Lin Yuan trembled lightly. The ethereal jellyfish drilled out of the trembling space and arrived in front of Lin Yuan. It handed over a fist-sized black ore to Lin Yuan as though it was presenting a treasure. It then used its tentacles to caress the fist-sized black ore. It was obvious that it was very fond of the black ore. Lin Yuan could feel the spatial energy fluctuations within the black ore. At the moment when the ethereal jellyfish dug out the black ore with its two thick tentacles, the ethereal jellyfish's body shook violently. The mother of Bloodbath looked at a location in the distant sea and narrowed its eyes. The mother of Bloodbath said in a deep voice, Someone actually used the spatial magnet or to set up a magnetic field that can isolate space. The spatial magnetic ore is something that can only be produced on other continents. Why would it appear in the Radiance Federation's territorial waters? Upon hearing the Mother of Bloodbath mention other continents, Lin Yuan somehow thought of the pinnacle myth Two Crow Fae that had been killed by the Mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer. After handing the spatial magnet to Lin Yuan, the ethereal jellyfish shook its tentacles to transmit a hazy message to Lin Yuan. According to the ethereal jellyfish's information, he knew that there were many spatial magnets in this sea region. Lin Yuan said to the Mother of Bloodbath, "Why don't we ask the ethereal jellyfish to dig out all the spatial magnets in this area and see what's hidden in the magnetic field created by the spatial magnets?" The Mother of Bloodbath nodded and said coldly, "Since living beings from other continents have come to the Radiance Federation to set up such a magnetic field that shields the space, no matter what their motive is, they can be defined as terrorists. Such a person must not be allowed to live." Reward and update for Shadow Seeking Boss. Seeking recommendation votes and monthly votes. End of chapter. Chapter 459. The ethereal jellyfish searched the sea carefully. The number of spatial magnets in Lin Yuan's hand increased, and he now had nearly 100 of them. At that moment, both Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath found that the range of this magnetic field was a little too wide. Following the position of the ethereal jellyfish in the sea, they were getting further and further away from the shore. Soon, Lin Yuan saw an island that was about 4,000 to 5,000 square meters in the distance. The island was abnormally barren, just like the seabed in the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's sea that had been ravaged by the sea burial lotus flower. Lin Yuan had heard Listen talk about the barren island not far away. This small island was no longer within the scope of the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's coastal waters. Lin Yuan realized that the ethereal jellyfish had found a large number of spatial magnets near this small island, so he said to the Mother of Bloodbath, "There are many spatial magnets nearby. We might as well use this island as a foothold. I'll call Lu Jia, Listen, and Zhou Luo over." The Mother of Bloodbath replied, "There were many pairs of eyes staring at you on the way to this coast. You've been searching on the sea for 4 hours. I'm sure those people with ulterior motives wouldn't be able to sit still after discovering that you're on the sea, right?" Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "If they can't sit still anymore, they will naturally jump out. We just have to deal with the changes by remaining unchanged." A tall and thin man was absent-mindedly wiping the black and white chess pieces in his hand with a handkerchief made from the skin of a spirit beast. The lanky man sitting on the chair had a small sable with black and white fur on his creation master robe. The little Martin with black and white fur was staring at the black and white chess piece in the man's hand. His eyes rolled around, appearing to be unusually quick-witted. Zhang Jianglu looked at the sinister-looking young man standing beside him and said resentfully, "Wenbo, what are you saying? Do you think you can order your Grandpa Jiao around?" Wang Wenbo was like an eggplant that had been hit by frost. However, at the thought of what happened in the Indigo Azure Sea Market during the day, Zhang Wenbo's eyes were about to overflow with malice. When the old man with the cedar tree aura saw this, his back was ramrod straight. He touched Zhang Wenbo's hair with his old hand and said, "I've watched Wenbo grow up from a baby. I know Wenbo's temper. If he hadn't been wronged, he wouldn't have said something like that." Zhang Jianglu asked softly after hearing the old man's words, "Uncle Zhao, are you sure that the youth with Listen doesn't have any emperor-level combatants with him?" At this moment, Zhang Jiangliu's attitude was unusually friendly, completely different from how he treated Zhang Wenbo just now. The old man with a straight back and a cedar tree aura said calmly, "I didn't sense any powerful aura around that young man. If it wasn't for the fact that he's more than a level stronger than me, there's no way I wouldn't have been able to sense him. My cold snowpine might not be a support-type fae that excels in perception, but its exclusive skill has a certain level of perception. Therefore, my perception is almost never wrong." Zhang Jiangliu's face was still filled with hesitation, as if he was hesitating on how to make a decision. After all, he had heard from Elder Jiao that the masked young man by Listen's side was expensive. The mask on his face was made of completely jade-textured silk threads. However, when he thought about how Zhang Wenbo had intentionally concealed the other party's foundation and wanted him to send someone to kill the other party to get back at him, Zhang Jianglu felt a little stifled in his heart. How could he have such a useless son who only knew how to act based on his emotions? When he thought about Elder Nyo's loss, Zhang Jianglu felt the anger in his heart surging up. Zhang Jianglu turned his head and looked at the tall and thin man sitting beside him with a smile. Second young master, I wonder if you think I should make a move against the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's listen and kill their group? Then, I'll take control of all the resources in Indigo Azure City's shallow coastal sea so that I can quickly give 50% of the total income to second young master. The tall and thin youth didn't even lift his eyelids as he continued to wipe the black and white chess pieces in his hand. Third uncle, the black and white chess pieces that you brought me this time have soft patterns and are really not bad. When Zhang Jianglu heard the tall and thin youth's answer, his smile immediately froze. At this time, Zhang Jianglu heard the tall and skinny young man speak again. Since third uncle is willing to give me 50% of the coastal sea resources, then I can't just sit here and watch third uncle being so badly battered and not come up with some ideas. Actually, I think Wenba is a good kid. He shouldn't be wronged so easily. As he spoke, the tall and skinny youth noticed that the little black and white marten on his leg was drooling over the black and white chess pieces in his hand. He could not help but reveal a gentle smile on his face. He then tossed the black chess piece he was wiping towards the black and white mink as he spoke. You little guy, you're hungry in less than 2 hours. I just fed you before coming here, and now you can't help but want to find some snacks to eat. Are you afraid of getting fat? When Zhang Jianglu saw the black and white chess pieces made of completely jade-textured wood that he had obtained with great difficulty, the skinny man casually fed them to the Fae. The muscles on his face twitched twice. At the same time, the thoughts in his mind were running at high speed. Judging from second young master's words, he wanted to do it himself. However, the second young master only said that he would contribute, but he didn't say what he would contribute. The only Emperor Realm expert he could use was Uncle Zhao. Zhang Jianglu was still worried that if Uncle Zhao were to act alone, there might be variables. After all, the death of Elder Nyo, a pinnacle king-class combatant, was a powerful warning. It would be great if second young master could dispatch an expert to act together with Uncle Zhao. The tall and skinny man lifted his head and saw Zhang Jianglio's grave expression. He then raised his brows indifferently. Just as he was about to speak, there was a sudden knock on the door. When Zhang Jianglu heard the knock, he immediately yelled out, Old Feng, second young master is here. How dare you knock on the door and disturb him? What are you doing? While speaking, Zhang Jianglu had some doubts. The housekeeper, Old Feng, had been with him for at least 20 years. For him to knock on the door and disturb him at this time, there must be something urgent. As expected, Old Feng's anxious and apprehensive voice came from the door. Master, I really have something to report. Immediately after, Zhang Jianglu looked at the tall and skinny man who was seated beside him. When the tall and skinny man saw Zhang Jianglu looking at him, he picked up a white chess piece and fed it to the little marten on his leg. Third uncle, please go ahead. After obtaining the tall and skinny man's permission, Zhang Jianglu yelled out towards the door. Come in. After pushing the door open, the somewhat anxious Old Feng immediately bowed to second young master, who was sitting on the main seat. Then, he quickly walked to Zhang Jianglio's side and whispered into Zhang Jianglio's ear. After the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce left the Indigo Azure Sea Market with the two masked youths, they went directly to the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's shallow nearshore sea. Our latest informant just reported that they went to the deserted island outside the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's shallow nearshore sea. Upon hearing Old Feng's words, Zhang Jianglio's pupils constricted. Immediately after, Zhang Jianglu turned around. His expression was abnormally firm and also faintly anxious. He wasn't as hesitant as before. It was as though he had become a completely different person. Second young master, I'm afraid our third lineage will encounter danger if we act alone. I wonder if second young master can send an emperor-class expert to hold the line for our third lineage in the dark. Baidu read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Clawbook House for free. Chapter 460. The lanky man ignored the sudden change in Zhang Jianglio's attitude. He seemed to be a little tired from sitting. He covered his mouth and yawned before saying, I can send someone to do it. If you want me to send someone, that's fine. But I'll take 60% of the resources in the coastal seas controlled by your three lineages. When Zhang Jianglu heard this, the expression in his eyes became increasingly gloomy. However, he still agreed to it very readily. "We'll do as second young master says." The lanky man chuckled and stood up to carry the black and white marten. "Since third uncle is so generous, I, Zhang Keiyuan, am not a stingy person." The lanky man clapped his hands twice after he finished speaking. Following these two light claps, a humanoid figure shrouded in a cloak suddenly appeared beside Zhang Jianglu. The appearance of this human figure in a cloak shocked Zhang Jianglu. The lanky man said, "Nightmare 6, I'll have to trouble you. Follow third uncle's men." Nightmare 6's voice was unusually hoarse under the black cloak, as if he was speaking with sand in his mouth. "Yes, second young master." With that, Nightmare 6, who was covered in the black cloak, hid again. It was as if he had never appeared before. The lanky man looked up at Zhang Jianglu and stretched. "Third uncle, I'll be waiting for the endless income from the coastal sea. I hope third uncle doesn't have so many accidents. I, Zhang Keiyuan, hate accidents the most." With that, the lanky man lifted his feet and left. After the tall, skinny man left, Zhang Jianglu scanned the space in the room and was shocked. The human figure in the cloak that just appeared was called Nightmare 6 by second young master. Could he be a member of the Yicha squad that the main family of Zhang spent half of the resources to protect their direct descendants? Rumor had it that the Yicha squad had a total of 9 members, all of whom were emperor-level combatants. Each of them had superior abilities. Number 1 to 3 protected the first young master, number 4 to 6 protected the second young master, and number 7 to 9 protected the third young master. He did not expect the second young master to use a member of the Yicha squad to help the 3 branches. At this moment, Zhang Jianglu was relieved and no longer had the slightest worry. However, he thought of the layer that the second young master wanted to go to, the wealth from the exploitation of the coastal sea resources. Zhang Jianglu felt his heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys aching. Lu Jia, Listen, and Zhou Luo walked all the way from the seaside to this barren island. When they passed by the sea, they naturally felt the desolation of the sea. However, neither Lu Jia, Listen, nor Zhou Luo knew what had happened in this sea region. That was why this area of the sea had become so barren. The bone lotus flower spawned by the carcinoma fey, the sea burial lotus flower, had already been taken out of the water by the mother of bloodbath. The bone lotuses that covered the seabed all withered, turning into a final elegy for the creatures at the bottom of the sea. As a member of the Radiance 100 sequence, Lu Jie could go to the Radiance Sacred Hall to read information whenever he wanted. However, he did not have much understanding of the carcinoma phase. If he hadn't heard his master, the Moon Empress, mention the sea burial lotus flower, he wouldn't have been able to do so. Lin Yuan wouldn't have guessed that he might have encountered the carcinoma fey, the sea burial lotus flower, just from the clash between Red Thorn's nibbling vine flower and the bone lotus flower. He couldn't help but admit that he had a teacher with extraordinary knowledge who knew everything. It could really broaden one's horizons imperceptibly. If the Moon Empress, who was far away in the royal capital's radiant moon palace, heard Lin Yuan's thoughts, she would definitely be speechless to Lin Yuan. Disciple, compared to knowledge and experience, master is stronger and wealthier. So can you stop being so independent? Isn't it better to rely on master? The ethereal jellyfish was currently happily moving bricks at the bottom of the sea. However, the ethereal jellyfish didn't find a single spatial magnet this time. It immediately returned to Lin Yuan's side and handed the spatial magnets to him. Instead, it piled the spatial magnets at a specific location at the bottom of the sea. As the ethereal jellyfish dug out more spatial magnets, the magnetic field became weaker. It was also harder for the ethereal jellyfish to find the buried spatial magnets at the bottom of the sea. Fortunately, the spatial magnets could attract each other. By piling a large number of spatial magnets at the bottom of the sea, it would be helpful for the ethereal jellyfish to dig out other spatial magnets. This allowed the ethereal jellyfish to find spatial magnets more efficiently. Zhou Luo commanded the Diamond Eye/Fantasy Eye Lava Dragon Lizard that he had summoned. He was trying to get the Lava Dragon Lizard into the water. Previously, when the Lava Dragon Lizard was still an Iron Bone Iguana, it was an Earth-type Fey, so it had always been more resistant to water. The Iron Bone Iguana itself was not good at fighting in the sea. However, the Iron Bone Iguana had awakened its dragon-type bloodline and evolved into a Lava Dragon Lizard. Dragon species Fays were all amphibious Fays and could fight in water and on land at the same time. Under Zhou Luo's command, the Lava Japalura clumsily dived into the sea. At first it was reluctant. It lowered its head and used its tail to slap the ground from time to time, as if it was hitting the ground with a hammer. However, Zhou Luo quickly coaxed him. "Little sweetheart, don't act like a spoiled child. Quickly go into the sea. You should be very familiar with it." After being forced into the water, the lava dragon lizard panicked. After all, it was its first time in the water. However, after the lava dragon lizard jumped into the sea, it realized how fun the sea was. The lava dragon lizard, who was having fun in the sea, was unwilling to go ashore. Zhou Luo was dumbfounded by the lava Japalura's transformation. Lu Jie was about to let the insect queen set up an insect swarm on the deserted island but was stopped by Lin Yuan. The insect sea created by Lu Jie's insect queen was not good at fighting in the sea. The core unit of Lu Jie's insect sea, the flesh-mincing blade insects, would drown in the sea within a few minutes and could not survive in the sea at all. It could be said that Lu Jie was a complete non-swimmer in combat and was only suitable for fighting on land. Previously, Lu Jie had created a lot of lightning-gathering moths and hurricane owlet moths, which he had also brought over when he came to this island. The lightning-gathering moths and gale nightshade moths were more than enough. When Listen heard Zhou Luo release the lava Japalura into the sea to play, he thought that there were no living creatures in this sea, so there would not be any danger. He also summoned his 2 contracted fays. Lin Yuan saw that the bronze X Pain illusory fox that he had exchanged with Listen had become a silver 7/fantasy eye. In addition to this silver 7/fantasy eye Pain illusory fox, Listen actually had a silver 3/fantasy eye 3-tailed crimson fox. The 3-tailed crimson fox's aptitude was much higher than that of the Pain illusory fox. Every time it advanced a grade, the 3-tailed crimson fox would grow a new tail. It could be considered an existence with an extremely noble bloodline among fox species fays. With that, Lin Yuan realized that Listen's aptitude could really be considered excellent. Moreover, Listen was only 20 years old this year and was considered a dazzling existence among the younger generation. Lin Yuan could not help but wonder if he should pull Listen into his newly established Dome Guild Club. After all, so far, the Dome Guild Club's main team that wanted to participate in the S tournament only had him and Lu Jie. At that moment, the wind suddenly blew over the sea. The chilly sea breeze made Lin Yuan's white spirit chi clothes flutter. Suddenly, an eagle's cry resounded over the sea. Second, more seeking recommendation votes and monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 461. Lin Yuan saw a giant eagle with a wingspan of nearly 40 meters flapping its wings and flying over from the coast. The feathers on the giant eagle's wingspan were dark brown with a glaring metallic luster. The color of the feathers on the back was darker, almost black. The color of the feathers on the abdomen was lighter, showing a kind of coffee color. However, this giant eagle's entire head was covered with golden feathers. The golden feathers were as sharp as swords and emitted the sound of sharp swords piercing through the air as they flew. The sword feathers on both sides of the eagle's cheeks exploded. Coupled with a pair of sharp eagle eyes, this giant eagle with a wingspan of 40 meters looked heroic and extraordinary. Lin Yuan used true data to check this giant eagle's attributes. Fey name, sword plume sea eagle, Fey species, long-feathered eagle/sea eagle, Fey grade. Diamond, 10 out of 10. Fey type, metal/wind, Fey quality. Fantasy V. Lin Yuan could not help but raise his eyebrows. It seemed that this sword plume sea eagle should have reached the suzerain level. After a period of time, this sword plume sea eagle should be a suzerain Fey. Seeing the sword plume sea eagle flying straight in their direction, Lin Yuan knew that what should come had finally come. The sword plume sea eagle folded its wings and landed neatly on the deserted island where everyone was. The strong wind caused dozens of lightning-gathering moths to be blown hundreds of meters away before they could stabilize their bodies. Zhou Luo immediately commanded the lava dragon lizard to go ashore and let it block in front of Lin Yuan, Lu Jie, and Listen. It was fulfilling its duty as a white-clothed follower, which was also a servant. An old man and a middle-aged man in half-body armor jumped off the back of the handsome sword plume sea eagle. When Lin Yuan saw this old man, the corner of his mouth revealed a faint smile. Isn't this the old man with the cedar aura behind young Master Zhang when I was at the Indigo Azure Sea Market? Lin Yuan glanced at the other middle-aged man in half-body armor and thought to himself. Did the Zheng family's third lineage send 2 Emperor-class experts to attack me? How much does the Zheng family's third lineage want me dead? At that moment, The old man with the cedar aura straightened his back and had a calm expression. His tone was gentle as if he was talking to his own grandson. Not bad. With the three of you here, I don't have to waste any more effort. After saying that, the old man with the cedar aura straightened his back and looked at the lava dragon lizard that was roaring fiercely and said with some regret. A diamond eye/fantasy eye little lizard is a little weak. When Zhou Luo saw the sword-plumed sea eagles and felt the power of the giant eagle, he knew that the strength of this group of people was far beyond his. However, Zhou Luo was not to be outdone. Zhou Luo knew that Lin Yuan had two myth-breed fays that could transform into human form hiding in the dark. With two suzerain/myth breeds that could take human form, they were at least myth 2 fays protecting their safety. What else was there to worry about? Therefore, Zhou Luo did not hesitate to provoke the old man with the cedar scent. Old man, your hair is white, your beard is white, and your eyebrows are white. You look a little old. After Zhou Luo finished speaking, the old man, who had a cedar tree aura, straightened his back, did not react for a long time. It was as if he didn't expect someone to talk to him like that. However, the middle-aged man wearing half-body armor next to the old man frowned. What are you talking about? Hurry up and leave this deserted island. Otherwise, don't blame me for not warning you if you lose your life. Just as Zhou Luo was about to retort, Lin Yuan placed his hand on his shoulder and gently patted it twice. Zhou Luo immediately fell silent. He immediately instructed the lava dragon lizard to step back while he remained at Lin Yuan's side. According to the middle-aged man in half-body armor, Lin Yuan was a little surprised. This middle-aged man in half-body armor wanted to expel them, not kill them. This puzzled Lin Yuan. Could it be that this middle-aged man wasn't from the Zheng family's third lineage? Immediately after, Lin Yuan heard the old man with a straight back and a cedar aura say, "That's right. Duan He, there's no hurry. There's no hurry to expel them. I still have things to say to them." At this time, the middle-aged man wearing half-body armor clearly showed an impatient expression. Then, with a wave of his hand, he recalled the sword-plumed sea eagle into his spiritual space. Lin Yuan took a step forward and asked with a smile, "Why? Your young master Zhang wants the mask on my face so much that he didn't bring enough money just now, and now he's in a hurry to send you to trade with me again?" When the old man with a straight back and a cedar aura heard Lin Yuan's words, a gentle smile appeared on his face. A gentle smile appeared on his face, but he did not answer Lin Yuan's question. Instead, he asked, "There have always been only 3 trees in this huge Indigo Azure City. These 3 trees rise into the sky in Indigo Azure City. Whether it's a dragon or a snake, they can only coil on the branches of these 3 trees in Indigo Azure City. Do you understand this logic?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan's smile became even more radiant. "Of course I understand this logic. Which place doesn't have towering trees? Which tree doesn't have dragons and snakes climbing on it? It's just that some arrogant trees always forget to look at the top of their heads. They think they're big trees, but in the end, they're just covered by a bigger tree." At this point, Lin Yuan paused and then spoke again in an instant. "I don't know if the towering trees you're talking about are the main family of the Zheng family or the third lineage of the Zheng family? If you're talking about the third lineage of the Zheng family, then I'm afraid the main family of the Zheng family won't be happy to know that a few tree branches that were originally parasitic on the tree roots actually have the intention of growing into a big tree." With his back ramrod straight, the smile on the face of the old man with the cedar tree aura immediately turned solemn. His voice seemed to synchronize with the chill of the cedar on his body. "You've grown a tongue that will kill you at such a young age." Lin Yuan shook his moon-white spirit chi clothes that were a little messy from the wind and asked, "Won't I attract a fatal disaster without this tongue?" At this moment, the middle-aged man in half-body armor frowned and looked at the old man beside him. "Zhao Hanzhong, what's the matter? Didn't you ask me to help your fae endure the world cleansing?" The old man with a straight back and a cedar aura looked apologetically at the middle-aged man in half-body armor and said, "Duan He, there's a private matter arranged by the master here. Wait for a moment. I'll immediately deal with this big private matter. I can't tarnish this good place that can endure the world cleansing." The middle-aged man in half-body armor snorted and then walked a few steps away. "More for the fact that I am an emotionless killer. Seeking recommendation votes and monthly votes." End of this chapter. Chapter 462. The middle-aged man's displeasure was obvious and he did not try to hide it. Zhao Hanzhong, I'm only here to repay a small favor I owe you. I don't want to get involved in the Zheng family's affairs. After saying that, Duan He's gaze once again swept in the direction of Lin Yuan and the others as he thought to himself. It must be something big for the Zheng family's third lineage to send out an old man like Zhao Hanzhong. Otherwise, the Zheng family's third lineage, which was supported by the main family, would not have sent out their only emperor-class expert. However, Duan He could not see any powerful fighters around the group of youths that were worth the Zheng family's third lineage sending out an old man like Zhao Hanzhong. That old thing, Zhen Hanzhong, was right. Although the lava dragon lizard's aptitude wasn't bad, it was indeed a little weak. The Zheng family's third lineage had a few pinnacle king-class experts. One pinnacle king-class expert was enough to deal with this group of people. Lin Yuan did not expect this middle-aged man named Duan He to not be a member of the Zheng family. He was only here to help the old man named Zhao Hanzhong's contracted fei withstand the world cleansing. Lin Yuan asked Duan He, who was wearing half-body armor. Senior Duan He, you must be an emperor-class expert. If you are not a member of the Zheng family, I hope you will not get involved in the Zheng family's affairs. Duan He did not expect to be called out by the masked youth. However, the more Duan He thought about it, the more he felt that there was a hint of threat in the youth's polite words. Duan He raised an eyebrow and asked in return, "Then what if I get involved in the Zheng family's affairs?" Lin Yuan looked at Duan He with a serious expression as he said each word slowly. "Then you will be an enemy of Sky City." Duan He immediately searched through his mind when he heard the word Sky City. He discovered that none of the forces he knew of had the name Sky City. However, Duan He had no interest in participating in a conflict between factions. Otherwise, he would not have made his stance clear to Zhao Hanzhong. Zhao Hanzhong sighed and activated his spiritual power. The spirit energy that formed a cyclone quickly appeared on the surface of Zhao Hanzhong's body, and more spirit energy cyclones appeared. These spiritual energy cyclones suddenly turned into a huge spiritual vortex, devouring the spiritual energy drifting between heaven and earth. Seeing this scene, Lin Yuan knew that this elder with the cedar aura was called Zhao Hanzhong. He was an S-rank spirit chi professional. When S-rank spirit chi professionals circulated their spirit power and entered a combat state, their spirit power vortex would form a spirit chi vortex that could devour the spirit chi in the air and convert it into spirit power for their own use. As a result, S-rank spirit chi professionals' mastery of spiritual power was no longer limited to the spirit chi in their bodies. Instead, he could use his own spiritual power to borrow the power of heaven and earth. In an instant, a nearly 70-meter-tall fei covered in icy blue leaves appeared on the deserted island. The thick tree trunk looked like it was carved out of ice, and there were many ancient patterns on it. The tip of each icy blue leaf had a drop of water that had already turned into ice before it had even fallen to the ground. The lush ice blue leaves swayed, and a large number of leaves fell to the ground. The branches that grew out of them were slightly bent. However, the trunk of this giant tree was unusually tall and straight. Indigo Azure City's winter weather was not too cold, and it was roughly the temperature of the royal capital's late autumn. However, the instant this 70-meter-tall fei appeared, Lin Yuan realized that his moon-white spirit chi clothes seemed to be dyed with a layer of bone-chilling frost. The moment this 70-meter-tall fei appeared, Lin Yuan realized that his moon-white spirit chi clothes seemed to be dyed with a layer of bone-chilling frost. Even the air that entered his nose was so cold that his trachea felt a faint stab of pain. He used true data to check the true data of this nearly 70-meter-tall plant covered with icy blue leaves. Fei name, Ultimate Ice Fei Species, Highwood/Platycladus, Fei Grade, Diamond, 10 out of 10. Fei Type, Ice Fei Quality. Fantasy V. Lin Yuan realized that this Diamond X/Fantasy V Ultimate Ice was about the same strength as the Golden Plume Sea Eagle. They were both Feis that were just a step away from becoming suzerain. This Ultimate Ice's abilities were not particularly outstanding under true data. Most of its abilities were focused on Ice-type energy attacks. However, its exclusive skill, Frozen Cedar's Freeze, was a little special. It could actually condense the elemental energy in the opponent's body. This was undoubtedly an extremely strong restraint against Feis that used elemental attacks. Just this exclusive skill, Cold Cedar's Freeze, allowed the mediocre Ultimate Ice to have a qualitative improvement in its combat ability. However, no matter how strong this exclusive skill, cold cedar's freeze, was, it could only be used against fays that were of the same grade as it. Perhaps it was a little stronger than him. It was the kind of fae that had just become suzerain but had yet to accept the world cleansing and become a myth breed. A myth breed fae like the Mother of Bloodbath, whose willpower rune had already transformed into a lore rune, was already too far away from the Diamond X/Fantasy V Ultimate Ice. Therefore, the Ultimate Ice's exclusive skill, Cold Cedar's Freeze, could be said to have a very limited effect on the Mother of Bloodbath. Jian Hanzhong glanced at Lin Yuan and then at Listen, who was behind him, and said in a deep voice, "Hand over the thing you found in this coastal sea to me. Take out whatever you found in this coastal sea and give it to me. If I'm happy, I might be able to freeze your hearts in an instant and let you die painlessly." Zhou Luo was currently instructing the lava dragon lizard's newly grown brownish-red fire elemental head to cast a skill, casting a molten shield on everyone. The molten fire shield covered Lin Yuan's body and helped him resist the Ultimate Ice's cold aura. However, due to the huge difference between the lava dragon lizard and the Ultimate Ice, the Ultimate Ice's Diamond X/Fantasy V aura might have been blocked, but the Ultimate Ice's Diamond X/Fantasy V aura still landed on Lin Yuan. It made Lin Yuan feel a trace of extreme danger. This feeling reminded Lin Yuan of the time when he was ambushed by Cheng Wu in the outskirts of the royal capital. This made Lin Yuan completely lose the mood to converse with Jian Hanzhong. Originally, Lin Yuan wanted to see if he could get any useful information about the Zhang family's third lineage from Jian Hanzhong. However, Lin Yuan no longer had such plans. Lin Yuan said softly, "Mother of Bloodbath, do it." Lin Yuan's voice was extremely soft, and it was quickly blown away by the biting cold sea breeze. At that moment, a pressure that was several times stronger than the Ultimate Ice's suddenly appeared. The pressure carried a cruel and bloody aura. The moment the pressure appeared, a scarlet light shot toward the Diamond X/Fantasy V Ultimate Ice Cypress from above Lin Yuan's head like a stinging venomous sting. First update. Seeking recommendation votes and monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 463. The moment this cruel and bloodthirsty aura appeared, Jian Hanzhong's expression changed drastically. He immediately circulated the spiritual power in his body, and an exquisite potted plant appeared in his palm. The moment this exquisite cedar potted plant appeared in Jian Hanzhong's palm, it was as if several glaciers had suddenly emerged from the bottom of the sea. The air around the cedar potted plant had turned into a pale white ice flame under the extreme cold aura emitted by the cedar potted plant. Jian Hanzhong channeled a large amount of spiritual energy into the cedar potted plant that had suddenly appeared in his palm and shouted, "Cold snow pine, pine needle protection. Ultimate ice. Ice leaf scatter." The crystal-like pine needles in the exquisite cedar potted plant in Jian Hanzhong's hand fell off. The fallen pine needles quickly attached themselves to the trunk of the polar ice, and the cold air between the pine needles linked together to form a solid layer of protection. However, the Diamond X/Fantasy V Ultimate Ice's 70-meter-tall trunk was too thick and tall. As a result, the cold snow pine's pine needles were unable to cover the Ultimate Ice's trunk completely. When the Ultimate Ice heard Jian Hanzhong's command, its icy blue leaves began to dance and set off a leaf storm. The water droplets condensed at the tips of the icy blue leaves became needle-shaped and swept toward the scarlet light shooting toward it. However, the leaf storm formed by the icy blue leaves was unable to stop the scarlet light. When the scarlet light approached the Ultimate Ice's trunk, it made a sharp turn and pierced through the upper part of the trunk that wasn't protected by the pine needles. A huge hole was blasted open in the Ultimate Ice's trunk. When the scarlet light reappeared from the other side of the Ultimate Ice, it had transformed into a beautiful woman with red hair and red eyes. She was clad in red crystal leather armor. At that moment, the beautiful woman with red hair and red eyes was holding an icy blue tree core the size of a fist. The Mother of Bloodbath kept tossing and catching the icy blue tree core in a leisurely manner. Occasionally, when it was tossed into the air, the icy blue tree core would make 10 turns in the air at 3,600 degrees. During the process, the Mother of Bloodbath performed many difficult tricks. A furious roar came from Jian Hanzhong's mouth. "No." The Mother of Bloodbath's strange and pleasant voice was filled with mockery and ridicule as it interrupted Jian Hanzhong's words. "What do you mean by no? Old thing. I've been unhappy listening to you for a long time. Trying to freeze the hearts of the people of Sky City? Do you think you're worthy? If you had attacked me with a suzerain/myth-eye pinnacle cold snow pine, I might have been slightly injured. But you used the Everfrost Pine to protect the ultimate ice. How foolish. But old thing, even though you're not that strong, the ultimate ice's tree core is pretty good. It's really good to put it in the room during the summer. The moment the mother of Bloodbath appeared, Duan-He, who was not participating in the battle, narrowed his eyes. A look of shock and disbelief appeared on his rough face. At the same time, he felt that what was happening in front of him was like a joke, full of drama. The ultimate ice contracted by Jian Hanzhong, who had just gained the upper hand, had its tree core pulled out in an instant. Looking at the exhausted appearance of the polar ice cypress, as well as the remnants of scarlet blood energy on its trunk, Lin Yun couldn't help but sigh. Duan-He knew that the ultimate ice wouldn't last much longer. If ultimate ice could find a class 4 creation master to concoct a spirit fluid to treat it, there might be hope for it to survive. However, it was clear that the red-haired, red-eyed woman would not give Jian Hanzhong and ultimate ice such a chance. At the trunk of the polar ice cypress, the scarlet blood energy left behind by the mother of Bloodbath continued to nibble away at it. The polar ice had already begun to wither away from its trunk. Duan-He could tell that the red-haired woman was definitely a suzerain/myth breed fae that could transform into a human form. Right now, Duan-He's mind was filled with questions. What kind of force was this Sky City that he had never heard of before? A myth breed fae that could transform into human form was definitely not a rising faction. Even the veteran factions had never heard of Sky City's existence. Could it be that Sky City was a hidden faction that rarely appeared in the world? Jiao Hanzhong's originally straight back immediately bent down after he sensed the condition of the Arctic cedar ice. His eyes had also turned red, and his aged voice sounded like it was crying blood. You actually took away my polar ice cypress's tree core. Even if I have to use these old bones of mine, I will not let you have it easy. The mother of Bloodbath smacked its lips and ignored Jian Hanzhong's words. Instead, it brought the polar ice cypress's tree core to its mouth and took a small bite with a crunch. The mother of Bloodbath chewed on the polar ice cypress's tree core a few times. It opened its mouth and spat out the chewed polar ice cypress's tree core on the ground. It spoke with extreme disdain. The taste of a tree core that hasn't advanced to suzerain is still a little lacking. Old thing, you still haven't worked hard enough. But that pot of chives in your hand is not bad. Later, dig out the tree core, cut it into shreds, and mix it with a cold dish. Let's see how it tastes. Lin Yuan's eyelids twitched violently when he heard the mother of Bloodbath's words. The mother of Bloodbath's verbal skills were simply maxed out. First, it sneak attacked, then dug out the heart, and then killed the heart. How could Jian Hanzhong, who was already so old, endure such a series of killing and killing attacks? However, the Diamond X/Fantasy V Polar Ice Cypress's tree core that the mother of Bloodbath had spat out could definitely be exchanged for a source-type item on the market. What a spendthrift spider! When Jian Hanzhong saw the mother of Bloodbath bite the Polar Ice Cypress's tree core, he was so angry that he started coughing violently. As he coughed, his chest puffed out like a bellows. You! Before Jian Hanzhong could continue, the mother of Bloodbath interrupted him again. What about you? Stop struggling. I will immediately cut off that pot of chives in your hand. When you die in a while, the Zheng family's third lineage will probably laugh out loud while waiting for the news of your victory. But don't worry, you won't be lonely after you die. I will bury your ashes on this deserted island and open a huge disco there. Every day, I will repeat the song "Today is a good day." Jian Hanzhong lost control and shouted at the sky. Lord Nightmare 6, please help me take back the tree core. Just as Jian Hanzhong shouted at the sky, a figure shrouded in a black cloak appeared beside him. Friends who like this book, please come to the QQ reading app and support the original version. Second, more seeking recommendation votes, monthly votes, tips. Hee hee. End of this chapter. Chapter 464. With a wave of its hand, a pitch-black oily substance landed on the ultimate ice's tree trunk, which was being corroded by the scarlet blood energy. The pitch-black oily substance instantly counteracted the mother of Bloodbath's scarlet blood energy. At the same time, it temporarily mended the hole in the ultimate ice's tree trunk, effectively slowing down the ultimate ice's withering speed. However, even after eliminating the mother of Bloodbath's scarlet blood energy, The ultimate ice that had lost its tree core could not help but wither bit by bit from the hole in the tree trunk. Under the black cloak, a hoarse voice sounded gloomily, as if he had swallowed sand. You attacked the Zheng family's third lineage, which is a slap to the Zheng family's main family's face. You have to pay the price with your life. The mother of Bloodbath stored the ultimate ice's tree core into the red crystal cluster-shaped face storage box on its ear. It spoke with a playful tone, "Don't play tricks under the cloak. Don't play tricks under the cloak. I've smelled the unique stench of bat species phase on your body a long time ago." Although the mother of Bloodbath's tone was playful, its expression was completely serious. At the same time, a scarlet luster flashed in its hand, and it threw 4 scarlet crystal spiders at the feet of Lin Yuan and the others. Lin Yuan knew that the mother of Bloodbath was using its gold ability, spider incubation, to protect them. 4 shields in the shape of the mother of Bloodbath's back armor covered the lava dragon lizard's molten shield. The moment the mother of Bloodbath's armor-shaped shield covered the molten shield, the suffocating pressure was isolated outside. The world inside the shield seemed to have become a pure land. After throwing out the 4 scarlet crystal spiders, the mother of Bloodbath's body suddenly lit up with a scarlet luster. Blood law runes emerged from its body and released all its power without any scruples. The originally clear sea seemed to have turned into a thick blood pool that stretched for thousands of miles when the mother of Bloodbath released its power. In an instant, a scarlet spider the size of a small hill appeared where the mother of Bloodbath had been. The spider's body was shrouded in blood energy. Apart from its back armor, its entire body was covered with terrifying scarlet stinging hairs. A strange red light flashed on the stinger's bristles. After the mother of Bloodbath transformed into its true form, it charged at Nightmare 6, who was shrouded in a black robe. When the mother of Bloodbath crashed into it, Nightmare 6 turned into a wisp of black smoke and neatly dodged its attack. However, the mother of Bloodbath did not slow down and immediately changed directions. 2 scarlet spider legs covered in stinging fur were raised and pierced into the body of the heavily injured polar ice not far away. The ultimate ice, which had already lost its core, now had 2 gashes that were almost 10 meters long. The 2 10-meter-long cracks almost split the ultimate ice's 70-meter-tall trunk into 3. At that moment, Nightmare 6, who had fled in black smoke, appeared behind the mother of Bloodbath. Nightmare 6, which looked no different from an ordinary human, had suddenly turned into a huge pitch-black bat with a metallic luster. As the bat wings flapped, gray smoke and dust billowed out. The rolling black smoke was very hazy, as if it could pull people into a dream. The huge bat's bat wings slashed, and the smoke formed 2 intersecting hooks that ruthlessly struck the mother of Bloodbath's weak spot on its spider abdomen. A hoarse voice sounded as if it had swallowed gravel. Dead Dream Law, Devouring Dream Hook. The mother of Bloodbath leaped into the air as if it had eyes on its back. The compound eyes on the mother of Bloodbath's back armor had already noticed Nightmare VI's movements. At the same time, it had predicted Nightmare VI's skill based on the all-seeing eye. However, Nightmare VI's 2 devouring soul hooks were too fast, and one of them still hit one of the mother of Bloodbath's spider legs. As the mother of Bloodbath leaped into the sky, it took Nightmare VI's attack head-on. At the same time, the mother of Bloodbath's strange yet pleasant voice shouted cruelly, "Blood Law, Bloody Grasp." The mother of Bloodbath's Bloody Grasp could temporarily control the target's body to move by controlling the blood flow in the target's body. Although Nightmare 6 and the mother of Bloodbath were both Suzerain/Myth 2 phase, Nightmare VI's strength was at the peak of Suzerain/Myth 2. Therefore, the mother of Bloodbath's Bloody Grasp could not control Nightmare 6 for long. However, even if it was only for a short second, it was enough. Just as Nightmare VI's body was being controlled by the mother of Bloodbath's Bloody Grasp, 3 pinkish-purple hydrangea-shaped flowers appeared out of thin air behind Nightmare VI's huge bat body. The petals of the 3 hydrangea-shaped flowers peeled off and turned into a rain of pinkish-purple flowers. A pinkish-purple petal suddenly turned into a sharp, pinkish-purple spear. Following the appearance of the first pinkish-purple spear, every pinkish-purple flower turned into a spear identical to the first one. When Listen, who was not far away, saw the sharp pinkish-purple spear, he immediately recognized it as the one that had killed the pinnacle king-class expert who had come to kill him in the royal capital. An unusually gentle and loving voice shouted softly, "Shooting spears of summer, 3,000 shooting spears of summer." 3,000 shooting spears of summer flew out, and half of them landed on Nightmare VI's huge bat body. Several wounds were blasted open on Nightmare VI's metallic back, and a large amount of black blood sprayed out of them. However, half of the shooting spears of summer did not penetrate Nightmare VI's body. They only pierced deep into its flesh. Just as the other half of the shooting spears of summer were about to land on Nightmare VI's huge bat body, Nightmare 6 had already broken free from the Mother of Bloodbath's bloody grasp and turned into a puff of black smoke. When Nightmare 6 reappeared, it had already turned into a human again. However, the black robe that covered its body was torn, revealing a sinister face. Its eyes were slender, and its eye sockets were almost completely white. His skin was unhealthily pale, and 2 long sharp teeth could be seen protruding from his lips. Nightmare 6 opened its mouth and spat out a jet-black blood clot. Its hoarse voice carried a hint of cruelty. Do you know the consequences of going against the Zheng family's head? Endless Summer's figure appeared beside Lin Yuan as the pinkish-purple petals rained down. Lin Yuan glanced at the Mother of Bloodbath, who was in human form, and saw that it was standing there with a relaxed expression. However, its calf was completely deformed. Endless Summer's gaze landed on the Mother of Bloodbath's deformed calf, and its brows furrowed even tighter. Its gentle eyes hid an undetectable ominous glint as it looked at the distant Nightmare 6 and said, "Another dark-type Fae. Another dark-type Fae. I am really fated with dark-type Faes. Since your Zhang family sent someone to kill me, you have to know the consequences of going against Sky City." Endless Summer looked at the Mother of Bloodbath and said, "Sister Blood, leave this dream-eating bat to me. Little Sister Xueqi, leave this dream-eating bat to me. That old man and those 2 little leeks are yours." After saying that, Endless Summer snapped her fingers. The pinkish-purple enlightenment rune revolved around Endless Summer's fingertip as it spoke softly. "Big Sister." Upon hearing Endless Summer's words, the Mother of Bloodbath immediately responded with a serious expression. "Big Sister." Lin Yuan could not help but hold his forehead. "Is this how you use Sister Cuomo?" For Emperor Su's Heaven's Execution. End of this chapter. Chapter 465. The Mother of Bloodbath and Endless Summer had only been in contact with Star Web for a short time. How did they become so proficient? It seems like I really can't let my Faes interact with the Star Web too much in the future. Suddenly, he thought of Chimey. My Chimey is very obedient. Even though Genius would usually purchase books on the Star Web to study, Chimey and Genius would always be together. He had never realized that Chimey would be addicted to the Star Web and learn some strange things from the Star Web. How obedient! Upon hearing Endless Summer's words, Nightmare 6 summoned his gray, fog-like law rune. The moment Nightmare VI's misty law runes were summoned, there seemed to be faint cries of happiness coming from them. Shortly after, Nightmare 6 inserted its hands into the misty law runes. Within the law rune, Nightmare VI's hands immediately began to wither, but his knuckles became increasingly slender. Sharp black nails that were longer than by an arm popped out from his knuckles, piercing the air around him and causing violent spatial energy fluctuations. Katyusha looked at his withered hands and sharp black nails and made a stabbing gesture. "You and I are both at Suzerain/Myth 2, but I've already reached the peak of Suzerain/Myth 2 and have seen through some of the secrets of body weaponization. Do you two really think you can kill me? Tisk. I'll let you know how powerful someone at the peak of Myth 2 is when they borrow the body transformation ability of Myth 3. Endless Summer ignored Nightmare 6 and stood calmly on the spot. After a while, Endless Summer suddenly spoke in a gentle tone. "It's time." After speaking, Endless Summer's aura rose abruptly, and an aura that was several times stronger than Endless Summer's aura pressed down on Nightmare 6. Endless Summer pointed at Nightmare 6 and enunciated each word. "Listening to a dark-type Fae like you spout so much nonsense is really noisy." As Endless Summer spoke, she didn't hide her disgust for dark-type Faes. The confident expression on Nightmare VI's face collapsed, and it roared in disbelief in its hoarse voice. "You're actually at Myth 3 realm? Then why have you been suppressing your realm at Myth 2 realm from the moment you appeared?" Endless Summer smiled faintly. Her gentle voice sounded like a devil's whisper to Nightmare 6. "Little fool, that's because we've been craving the law crystals in your head since the very beginning. The dream-eating netherbat's escaping ability is top-notch. Not to mention that you have comprehended the dead dream's laws and are extremely adept at escaping. Little Sister Xueqi, even if my leg is injured, I must make you stay. So, if I don't act well, wouldn't I be letting down little sister Xue's injury? Nightmare 6 felt its hair stand on end. It was a pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 fae, yet someone had coveted the law crystal in its head the moment it appeared. Without a word, Nightmare 6 activated all the energy in its body. The grey misty dead dream law rune absorbed the energy in Nightmare VI's body, and the happy cries from the law rune became louder. Nightmare 6 stabbed its long and sharp black nails into its heart, absorbing the black blood gushing out of its heart in an instant. Immediately, bat wings sprouted from Nightmare VI's back. 10 fingernails that had absorbed a large amount of blood fell off Nightmare VI's withered fingers. The fallen black fingernails landed on Nightmare VI's metal skin membrane, turning into bat bones that supported the membrane. The membrane was immediately surrounded by a large amount of dark energy, and Nightmare VI's body was almost completely hidden in the dark energy. It was as though Nightmare 6 could rely on these wings to scatter the mist and escape with a single flap. Even if you are at Myth 3, don't think that you can't stop me if I want to escape. At that moment, the pink-purple enlightenment law rune around Endless Summer's fingertips glowed brightly, and Endless Summer shouted, "Enlightenment law. Midsummer imprisonment." The wound on Nightmare VI's body from the shooting spear of summer had stopped bleeding, and the suzerain/myth phase recovery ability was already faintly healing. However, several flower branches suddenly sprang out of Nightmare VI's original wound. The flower branches that drilled out of the wound suddenly bloomed, growing layers of new leaves, and among the leaves were pink-purple flower buds. The lush flower branches pierced through Nightmare VI's body. From afar, it looked like Nightmare 6 had been nailed to a lush flower tree. While the flower branches drilled out of its body, Nightmare 6 realized that although its thoughts did not become sluggish, it could not rely on its thoughts to control its body. However, if one wanted to rely on thinking to control the body could not rely on thinking to make any movements. Lin Yuan, who was watching the battle from the side, suddenly felt that Endless Summer and the Mother of Bloodbath's actions were more like two villains. For example, when the Mother of Bloodbath had attacked the Diamond X/Fantasy V Ultimate Ice earlier, it could have relied on its strength to crush it, but the Mother of Bloodbath had chosen to use a sneak attack. However, Lin Yuan could completely understand this and was rather appreciative of it. As a wild fae that had been fighting against the world since it was young, the cruel living conditions had made the Mother of Bloodbath develop the habit of trying to maximize the results of each attack. In fact, Endless Summer and the Mother of Bloodbath had long schemed against Nightmare VI's remnant dream bat body. From the moment Nightmare 6 attacked until the Mother of Bloodbath used the Blood Law to activate its Blood Grasp ability to control Nightmare 6. Nightmare 6 had already fallen into the serial killer's trap. When Endless Summer had used the shooting guns of Summer, Lin Yuan had not been able to resist using Morbius True Data to check Endless Summer's attributes. After checking Endless Summer's attributes, Lin Yuan knew that physical damage was probably the shooting guns of Summer's weakest ability. In other words, physical damage was just an additional attack effect when the shooting guns of Summer were used. When the shooting guns of Summer shot into the target's body, a flower seed would be left at the tip. Each flower seed would germinate in a short period of time, becoming a layer of shackles that imprisoned the intelligence in the mind. Half of the 3,000 shooting guns of Summer had pierced Nightmare VI's body. This meant that Nightmare VI's intelligence had already been entangled with thousands of layers of shackles. Imprisoned in the shackles, the intelligence could not carry out orders to the body and could only be trampled on. However, Lin Yuan still subconsciously used Morbius True Data to check the attributes of the Pinnacle Suzerain/Myth 2 Dark-type Fae, the Dream-Eating Bat. Fae name: Dream-Eating Bat, Fae species, Horseshoe Bat/Fang Bat, Fae grade. Suzerain, 8 out of 10. Fae type: Dark, Fae quality. Myth 2, Dead Dream Law. However, after checking, Lin Yuan's brows immediately furrowed. Then, Lin Yuan shouted at Endless Summer. First, more. Seeking recommendation votes and monthly votes. Do you guys like to watch fights? If you don't like it, I'll write in detail. End of this chapter. Chapter 466. Lin Yuan's voice was very loud, and it reached everyone's ears on the battlefield. Its exclusive skill, Dark Knight Sacrifice, allows it to burn its law rune and all the energy in its body and sacrifice it to the fake body that it will shed before becoming a fantasy breed. It will then abandon its current body and reincarnate with a fake body that is hidden somewhere. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, everyone could not help but have a question in their hearts. 4 wild fays, especially myth breed fays, their abilities and exclusive skills were often life-saving and killing trump cards. Skills and exclusive skills were usually trump cards to protect one's life and kill. They were definitely not something that others would easily find out about. Even a Class 2 Creation Master would be able to clearly know a normal Fae's abilities and exclusive skills. However, once a Fae became a fantasy breed, even a Class 3 Creation Master would find it difficult to see through the Fae's exclusive skills and characteristics. As the grade of fantasy breed Faes increased, Class 4 Creation Masters would slowly be unable to fully investigate the Fae's abilities and exclusive skills. Once a Fae became a myth breed, it would be able to hide its abilities and exclusive skills, and no one would know about it. Nightmare 6 only had one thought in its mind. How did someone know about its exclusive skill? The more Nightmare 6 looked at the masked youth in the distance, the more it felt strange. Endless Summer also felt that Lin Yuan's words were rather unbelievable. However, Endless Summer would not doubt Lin Yuan's words. Endless Summer knew that Lin Yuan was not a person who would make irresponsible remarks, so what he said must be true. Just as Lin Yuan finished speaking, Nightmare VI's body ignited with black flames among the lush flowers and started to melt like a candle. Endless Summer became abnormally serious and said to Nightmare 6 in a deep voice, "You were wrong just now. The pinnacle of Myth 2 is ultimately only at the pinnacle of Myth 2. No matter how you imitate it, it will not be considered a true body weaponization." Endless Summer looked as though she was about to do a sacred thing and had an abnormally serious expression. Endless Summer took off the bracelet on her wrist that was decorated with pinkish purple embroidered ball-shaped flowers. Holding the bracelet, she lifted her glove and placed it on the pinkish purple law rune before chanting piously. "Spirit return." Just as Endless Summer said the word "return to 0." In an instant, the world seemed to fall silent, and countless flowers suddenly bloomed on the surface of the sea. Among the blooming flowers, giant trees that reached the clouds were uprooted from the ground. Countless giant trees surrounded a verdant divine tree that almost connected heaven and earth like stars surrounding the moon. The verdant divine tree's branches and leaves were flourishing, and the branches and vines were filled with endless pinkish-purple flowers. A power that was enough to shake the heavens and the earth caused the divine tree that was already connected to the heavens and the earth to grow infinitely higher. At that moment, the energy fluctuations caused by the power had completely affected Indigo Azure City in the distance. After Endless Summer's spirit return, she returned to her human form and wore a pinkish-purple palace dress. Her long pinkish-purple hair suddenly became illusory, and her palace dress was full of flowers. His pinkish-purple hair was like a verdant divine tree that could shake the heavens, fluttering towards the horizon. The pink and purple eyes suddenly opened, and all living things in the world seemed to receive a great enlightenment at this moment. All the power instantly calmed down, and the flowers on the ground and the giant trees that grew around the sky-shaking divine tree seemed to be enlightened and came to life. Lin Yuan realized that Endless Summer no longer felt like a simple fae to him. It was as though Endless Summer had fused the Enlightenment Law and her body into the world. Endless Summer itself was like a small world with rules. Endless Summer extended a finger and pointed at the melting Nightmare 6 while chanting, "End of summer, all things shall be silent." The flowers and the giant trees instantly withered, and the colors of all things fused into the finger. After the attack, Nightmare 6 lowered its head. It seemed to have fallen into a deep sleep and no longer had any vitality. At that moment, a pitch-black hole suddenly opened up in the world, and the horizon was filled with layers of ink clouds. The ink clouds pressed down, but they were unable to shake the verdant divine tree that connected heaven and earth at all. As the divine tree swayed, the ink clouds in the sky became heavier. Endless Summer quickly retracted her aura and landed beside Lin Yuan. Zhao Hanzhong, who had always been inconspicuous, had a crazed look on his face. Looking at the Diamond X/Fantasy V Ultimate Ice, Zhao Hanzhong's eyes were filled with regret and sorrow. At this moment, the Ultimate Ice had become a lifeless pile of withered wood. The 70-meter-tall tree had been severely damaged by the Mother of Bloodbath, and now it had turned into a pile of wood ashes. Lin Yuan looked at Zhao Hanzhong with eyes full of joy. And the joy was getting stronger and stronger. Lin Yuan felt that Zhao Hanzhong was indeed a thoughtful, ambitious old man with his own views. Lin Yuan had been waiting for Zhao Hanzhong to fall into despair, Then he would activate the world cleansing and use its power to cut off all means of retreat. Lin Yuan did not have time to guide him, and the mother of Bloodbath did not have time to talk to him. Zhao Hanzhong had already done it himself. Lin Yuan felt that if Zhao Hanzhong was not an enemy, he should have asked Endless Summer to dye his hair as a form of gratitude. Lin Yuan did not want to help Zhao Hanzhong withstand the world cleansing. He wanted Zhao Hanzhong's suzerain/myth I Cold Snow Pine to myth 2 and exchange its tree core for greater value. What Lin Yuan wanted was the world grace that the Cold Snow Pine would receive after it underwent the world cleansing. Normally, the world grace that descended upon myth breed phase after undergoing the world cleansing could be plundered. However, the effect of plundering other phase was extremely weak. In fact, the total energy obtained was less than 1% of the world grace's total energy. The remaining 99% of the world grace that did not belong to him would be dispersed into the air. Only Crow, who had been unscrupulous in order to increase his grade and survive, would think of using Endless Summer's tree core and the world grace. However, when Lin Yuan had used Morbius Pure Land of Bliss to help the Mother of Bloodbath undergo the world cleansing, he had been unscrupulous. However, when Lin Yuan had used Morbius Pure Land of Bliss to help the Mother of Bloodbath undergo the world cleansing, he had been surprised to find that the Pure Land of Bliss had only absorbed a trace of the world grace. During the Mother of Bloodbath's advancement, the Pure Land of Bliss had only absorbed a trace of the world grace. It had directly condensed over 20 spirit chi crystals. It could be said that Morbius' exclusive skill, the Pure Land of Bliss, could almost completely absorb the world grace's energy and convert it into spirit chi crystals. Lin Yuan had long been greedy when he heard that Zhao Hanzhong's Fae was going to undergo the world cleansing. Even more second requesting recommendation votes. Requesting monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 467. The layers of inky clouds in the sky instantly began to sprinkle down a large amount of snow. The snow gradually turned into the shape of goose feathers. The goose feather-shaped snowflakes fell from the sky and froze the surface of the sea. When the goose feather-shaped snowflakes fell, the air started to burn with white ice flames. When it landed, it was like a beautiful firework blossoming in the Arctic. Zhen Hanzhong looked at the snowflakes falling on the cold snow pine in his hand. Zhao Hanzhong suddenly felt a little ironic as he enjoyed this beautiful scene. This was the world cleansing that he had been looking forward to day and night. But now, this world cleansing that he had been looking forward to day and night had become his funeral. Zhen Hanzhong said to Lin Yuan in a low voice, "I won't be able to live today, but you killed a member of the Zheng family's Yi Cha team. Just you wait for the Zheng family's thunderous revenge." When Lin Yuan heard Zhen Hanzhong's words, he suddenly felt that Zhen Hanzhong was an Emperor-class expert. He was already an Emperor-class expert and had a myth-breed Fae, but in the end, he still felt that the Zheng family was his eternal pillar of support. Lin Yuan said coldly, "If the Zheng family wants revenge, Sky City will welcome it." Lin Yuan had just finished speaking when a shout came from the sky. "Who dares to cause trouble in Indigo Azure City's waters?" Space started to fluctuate violently. The fluctuating space tore open a crack, and the crack turned into a door. 3 men walked out of the door. One of them was wearing the Indigo Azure Guard's azure armor, but there were a few bright silver wave-like patterns on his clothes. Just by looking at the bright silver wave patterns on the azure armor, Lin Yuan could tell that this man should be the captain of the Indigo Azure Guards. He was only second to the Indigo Azure City Lord in Indigo Azure City. The 2 beside him were wearing the Spirit Guard's uniform. The man in the Indigo Azure Guard's azure armor looked at the situation on the deserted island. When he saw the world cleansing descending from the sky, he frowned and bowed to the other 2 Spirit Guards. "Sirs, I hope you can help this Emperor-class expert from the Indigo Azure City's Zheng family overcome this crisis." As the leader of the Indigo Azure Guard, the middle-aged man recognized Zhen Hanzhong. Now that he saw that the cold snow pine was undergoing a heavenly baptism, he turned to the 2 Spirit Guards beside him for help. The 2 Spirit Guards didn't summon their Faes. Instead, one of them waved his hand, and a spatial energy shield enveloped the cold snow pine. It temporarily shielded the cold snow pine from the falling snow. Another member of the Spirit Guard waved a beam of fire elemental energy toward the world baptism descending from the sky. The strength of these 2 attacks was well controlled, and neither was too strong. but it was enough to help the cold snow pine survive the baptism of heaven and earth and successfully ascend. When Lin Yuan saw the two spirit guards' casual prowess, he was secretly shocked. They were obviously S-rank experts with myth-breed fays. Although he did not summon a fae, the power of his two casual attacks had faintly reached the Mother of Bloodbath strength. If these two spirit guards' experts' fays were summoned, they should be able to reach Suzerain/Myth 3 and reach Endless Summer's strength. Being casually helped was originally a good thing, but Jian Hanzhong was dumbfounded. He had originally planned to toss the cold snow pine away when the world baptism was at its most intense. He would then use the cold snow pine's exclusive skill to complete his strongest attack before his death. But now that the Indigo Azure Guard captain and the two spirit guards had joined forces, his plan could not be carried out no matter what. But at the same time, Jian Hanzhong's eyes flashed with hope. If it was purely a personal grudge, the Indigo Azure Guard captain and the two spirit guards wouldn't help him. However, if he were to change his story, the powerhouses of the spirit guards would never allow him to be killed right now. They might even be investigated by the spirit guards. Thus, Jian Hanzhong decisively shouted at the Indigo Azure Guard captain and the two spirit guards. The two lords of the spirit guards have a carcinoma fae. Sirs, this sea region doesn't have any vitality. It's because they placed a sea burial lotus flower in this sea region. When the two spirit guards heard Jian Hanzhong mention the carcinoma fae, their brows turned solemn. But when they heard that someone was using the entire sea region's vitality to nurture the sea burial lotus flower, the two spirit guards frowned even more tightly. They immediately turned their heads and looked at Endless Summer and the Mother of Bloodbath. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan stepped forward and cupped his hands toward the two spirit guards. Just as he was about to speak, one of the two spirit guards spoke first. We are the guard envoys of the spirit guards who will be guarding Indigo Azure City during the upcoming spatial active period. Do you really have a carcinoma fae? Is it really as he said, using the entire sea region's vitality to nurture the sea burial lotus flower? Guard envoys were second only to the chief guard in the spirit guards. Guard envoys had to have worked in the spirit guards for at least 10 years and reach a certain level of strength before they could apply for the position. Whenever there was danger like the active period of the dimensional rift, these guard envoys would always lead the spirit guards to the front and resolve the problem. Lin Yuan naturally wouldn't lie to these experts who protected the Radiance Federation. He took out the sea burial lotus flower from the Spirit Lock spatial zone and said, "This sea burial lotus flower was indeed discovered by me in this coastal sea. But I didn't place the sea burial lotus flower in this coastal sea. I wouldn't turn the entire sea region into a dead zone just for a sobbing sea crystal. However, I am not the one who placed the sea burial lotus flower in this coastal sea. I will not turn the entire sea into a dead zone for a single sobbing sea crystal." One of the guard envoys looked at the sea burial lotus flower in Lin Yuan's hand, and then looked at the coastal sea with a pondering expression. One of the guard envoys looked at the sea burial lotus flower in Lin Yuan's hand, and then at the coastal sea with a pondering expression. Duan He wasn't usually in a daze. What's going on? Is he still dreaming? The Indigo Azure Guard was prepared to use Duan He to understand the situation. Thus, he walked over to him. It was obvious that the Indigo Azure Guard captain was more familiar with Duan He than Jiao Hanzhong. At that moment, Lu Jie walked up from behind Lin Yuan. He pointed at the mask on his face and was about to take it off. Given Lu Jie's status as a Radiance 100 sequence member, he could prove this matter to the two guard envoys of the spirit guards. Lin Yuan shook his head and casually took out a brocade box and handed it to Lu Jie. The brocade box that Lin Yuan handed to Lu Jie looked ordinary. However, when Lu Jie held it in his hand, he realized that the brocade box's surface was very smooth. When the sunlight shone on it, it was as though it was covered with a layer of moonlight that only appeared on a clear night. Lin Yuan said to Lu Jie, "Big brother Lu, help me pass this brocade box to the two guard envoys." Lu Jie was a little confused as he took the brocade box that Lin Yuan handed to him and strode toward the two guard envoys. When the two guard envoys saw the satin surface of the brocade box, their pupils suddenly shrank. They looked at each other and saw shock and disbelief in each other's eyes. Reward for those whose eyes are glowing with green light. Seeking monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.